Chapter 12:11. Dell didn't know much about Chen Zhao's strength. Li Qing, on the other hand, knew something about him. But she didn't know that Chen Zhao had already reached Shangqing, which was clear heaven and earth. Even with her understanding of Chen Zhao in the past, Dell couldn't compare to the ultimate transformation plane. Dell's talent was average. It would be good if he could learn a few spells. Plus, Li Qing was old and didn't have as much energy as young people, so she could only teach Dell. If Dell wanted to continue cultivating in the future, he would have to rely on Chen Zhao's guidance. The next day, Chen Zhao arrived at the hotel that Dell and Risfar had opened early in the morning. But he wasn't here for the opening ceremony. He was really not interested in this kind of ceremony. He was here to help Dell see if there was anything wrong with the hotel. After cleaning last time, there were no more problems with the hotel. Chen Zhao was mainly here to reassure Dell. In the past, Dell had been suspicious about the strange powers and gods. But now he was a warlock. Of course, in the West he was called a wizard. At noon, the hotel was filled with guests. Dell and Risfar didn't have time to accompany Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao didn't have anything to do here, so he sat on the rooftop. There was a huge swimming pool and bar on the rooftop. Today was the opening ceremony, but the rooftop wasn't open. Chen Zhao still liked the air here. The banquet restaurant below was filled with people. Chen Zhao really didn't like that atmosphere. Dell and Risfar didn't invite all upper-class guests. There were also some opportunists. Chen Zhao went inside to get a glass of wine and stood there for 3 minutes. 2 groups of people came over to test Chen Zhao's identity or ask for investments. Chen Zhao was speechless. After knowing that Chen Zhao was just an ordinary employee here, they immediately changed their attitude. The environment was too uncomfortable. The only people Chen Zhao knew, Dell and Risfar, couldn't stay with him forever. The sea breeze blew from the south to the north. It was very convincing. One had to admit that after the change in the environment, the air became fresher. As long as there were no problems with the management, Chen Zhao was sure that business would be booming and money would come in. Just then a woman came up to the rooftop. She was dressed in black business attire and had her hair in a ponytail. She was tall and slender, and she was wearing sky-high heels. She was holding a walkie-talkie in her hand. When the woman saw someone by the pool, she was stunned for a moment. Then he strode to Chen Zhao's side. "Sir, this place is not open yet. Please leave." Lying on the sun lounger, Chen Zhao moved his sunglasses up slightly and glanced at the woman. "I'm not a guest here. That's the staff here? Hundreds of people in the hotel are busy, and you came here to slack off? Which department are you from? Who's your superior? I'm not an employee here either. Are you trying to tell me that you're a guest here?" "Sir, the hotel hasn't officially opened yet, so we don't have any guests. If you can't tell me who you are, I can only call security. You better inform your 2 bosses first. Oh, get me a glass of whiskey. Thanks." Chen Zhao yawned lazily. When the house in Bright Moon Beach was built, he would be able to enjoy the sea breeze every day. The woman looked at Chen Zhao with sparkling eyes, somewhat hesitant. She wasn't sure of Chen Zhao's identity. If he was a guest invited by her 2 bosses, shouldn't he be in the banquet hall now? But she didn't have Dell and Risfar's contact information. She was only the hotel's customer service manager, not the general manager. There were still a few big shots above her. Plus, if Chen Zhao was really Dell and Risfar's friend, she might offend Chen Zhao because of this. "Okay, sir. There are still many facilities that aren't open yet. I hope you won't wander around." With that, the woman turned and left. As the customer service manager of a super 5-star hotel, Molly knew how to control herself. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten this job. The hotel wasn't open yet, but it was very busy today. There were many things that she had to deal with. She didn't have time to waste with Chen Zhao here. "Miss Molly, there are 2 people in the lobby. They say that they're hotel guests." "Hotel guests?" Molly was confused. "I'll come down now." Molly hurried downstairs. She saw a beautiful pregnant woman with a cute girl in her arms. "Hello, Mississippi." Molly walked over. "How can I help you?" "Your boss invited me here. He told me to stay here for a few days and experience it." "So it's a guest experience." Molly immediately understood. After the hotel opened, they couldn't let the guests stay immediately. There had to be an experience period. the hotel experience and service experience. Usually, the guest experience was the hotel boss's friend. Okay, please wait a moment, Molly said. Can I use your driver's license? Of course. Molly found it quickly, but she also found information about other residents who were experiencing it. The Asian was also a guest experience. No wonder, Molly thought to herself. That Asian seems to be living with them. They should be husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. Excuse me, is this Mr. Chenjiao Feilai's? He's my boyfriend. Is he in the hotel now? Yes, he's on the rooftop. Okay, thank you. After Feilai checked in, Molly had the waiter bring Feilai's luggage upstairs. Feilai brought little Jerlin to the top floor. Chen, you're too relaxed. Feilai looked at Chenjiao, who was lying beside the pool. Didn't you say you were going to check Del and Johnny's problems? Is this how you're helping? Chenjiao sat up and looked at Feilai. There's no problems. You can't let me keep wandering around, right? Dad. Jerlin had already pounced on Chenjiao and sat on his stomach. Actually, Del wanted Chenjiao's family to experience for a few days so that Chenjiao could stay in the hotel. There were always some hidden things that might not appear immediately. If something went wrong after Chenjiao's inspection, and they had to find Chenjiao, it would be even more troublesome. So it was better to let Chenjiao stay for a few more days. If something went wrong, Chenjiao could solve it immediately. Chenjiao didn't care. He could eat and stay for free for a few days and get high-quality service. Why not? At night, the waiter pushed a sumptuous dinner to their suite. Chenjiao and Feilai enjoyed a candlelit dinner. Just as they were about to rest, Chenjiao's call came. Chenjiao looked at his phone. It was Lit Grove. He looked at the time. It was 11 p.m. Chapter 12:12. After hesitating for a long time, Chenjiao finally picked up the phone. Teacher. Ritter Grove seemed a bit scared. What's wrong? I got a corpse today, Ritter Grove said. Get to the point. This corpse is a bit strange. I'm not sure if he's dead or not. I'm not even sure if he's human. You're in the hospital now. Yes. I'll go over now. Chenjiao hurried to Chantilly Hospital. Silently, he arrived outside the morgue. Teacher. Seeing Chenjiao, Ritter Grove heaved a sigh of relief. Take me to the corpse. Ritter Grove brought Chenjiao into the morgue. He stopped before a freezer and pulled it open. There was a corpse inside, but there didn't seem to be anything special about it. Chenjiao looked at Ritter Grove in confusion. Is there anything special about this corpse? Ritter Grove didn't speak. He just looked at the corpse. Suddenly, the corpse's face changed. It was like a flash of an image. The corpse was still a corpse. In that instant, Chenjiao saw the corpse's face turn into an unfamiliar, twisted face. This. Chenjiao furrowed his brows in deep thought. What is this? Who is he? Or is he even human? And is he dead? Teacher, do you know what's going on? What's his identity? Ritter Grove took out the registration form and handed it to Chenjiao. Thomas Bailey, postman. Time of death is 5:20 in the afternoon. The cause of death is a car accident. He died after being sent to the hospital. Just then there was a commotion outside. It seemed like someone had come, and there were quite a few of them. Then the door to the morgue opened. I don't care. I want to see my husband. I don't believe it. I don't believe he's dead. Chenjiao looked. The woman who was screaming at the top of her lungs seemed to be the customer service manager from the hotel today. Molly wiped her tears as she walked into the morgue. Beside her were the nurses from the hospital. They were all trying to persuade Molly. When they saw Chenjiao and Ritter Grove in the morgue, they were all stunned. When Emily saw her husband's body, she immediately cried and rushed over. Bailey, how could you do this? How could you abandon me like this? Molly hit her husband's chest and cried her heart out. Suddenly Thomas Bailey's hand moved. Chenjiao frowned. Molly suddenly shivered. Bailey, you're not dead? You're not dead, are you? Who? At this moment, everyone heard Thomas Bailey's long exhale. Doctor, quick, Bailey's not dead, he's not dead, please save him. A few nurses rushed forward to check. Thomas Bailey was indeed breathing again. They did not dare to delay, and quickly dragged Thomas Bailey out of the freezer. Chenjiao looked at Molly. She seemed to be crying her heart out, but she wasn't as sad as he'd imagined. Thomas Bailey's resurrection was also orchestrated by her. Glancing at Chen Zhao and Lit Grove, Molly wiped away her tears and followed them out of the morgue. Teacher, there's something wrong with that woman. Of course. Wasn't it obvious? Strangely, he didn't feel any magic power from Molly. He didn't even feel that Molly was casting a spell when she slapped the corpse. After emergency treatment, Thomas Bailey's life was no longer in danger, and he was sent to the ICU. Molly stood beside Thomas Bailey's bed and gently tidied up his hair. Bailey, how do you feel now? Not good. Not good at all, Thomas Bailey said weakly. How did this happen? How did you get into a car accident? I was found by my own kind, Thomas Bailey said. Same kind? You have the same kind. Yes, that's why I left a third of my life essence with you. I had a feeling that they would come for me, Thomas Bailey said. Get me out of the hospital now. I faked my death and escaped their pursuit. But they'll find out sooner or later that I'm not dead. They'll come again then. I can't stay here. But where are we going? Not us. Molly, following me won't do you any good. You shouldn't get involved in this conflict. Bailey, I love you. I don't care about the danger. Take me away. Molly, you don't understand. Molly knew his identity. Of course, she only knew the gist of it. She knew that he was an alien. But she did not know that he was actually a demon that humans feared. They'd known each other for 3 years, and been married for more than a year. If possible, Thomas Bailey only hoped that he could spend the rest of his life with Molly. But what he feared the most had finally happened. They were here. His own kind. I only know that I love you. Molly bit her lower lip and stared at Thomas Bailey with deep love. Thomas Bailey also stared at Molly. I'm a demon, Thomas Bailey said. I'm a demon that goes against God in the legends. Molly's face was pale. She stared at Thomas Bailey. After a long while, Molly's eyes became determined. I don't care. I only know that you're my husband. Let's go now and leave this place forever. Molly helped Thomas Bailey up and put him in the wheelchair. When she pushed Thomas out of the ICU, she saw Chen Zhao and Little Grove standing there. Molly left in another direction, pushing Thomas Bailey away in a hurry. Teacher, should we chase after them? Of course. I need to know what happened, Chen Zhao said. That man is clearly not an ordinary person. This is my territory. I want to know the real reason for his injury and his identity. Molly got into the car with her husband. Her mind was in a mess. She was actually very anxious. After all, she was just an ordinary woman. She was just a woman who married a demon. That was all. From the day they got married, Thomas Bailey had told her that he was not human. Molly was still determined to choose Thomas Bailey. She had also wondered if it was worth it. But women were always so blind when it came to love. Molly, where are we going? Chapter 12-13. Molly suddenly realized that there was a car following them. It's that Asian. Molly saw the two people in the convertible through the rearview mirror. Bailey, look at the convertible behind us. The Asian who was following us was already there when you entered the morgue, and now he's following us again. Is he also a demon? Thomas Bailey glanced at the rearview mirror. We can't tell like this. We escaped from the seal. Some demons have been hiding for hundreds of years. They're more human than humans. We'll only know if they're a demon when they reveal their power. Thomas Bailey said again. Molly, put me down. Let me talk to him. No, you're too weak now. You'll be killed again. But we can't escape. You understand, Thomas Bailey said. You shouldn't be involved in this. Can't we reason with them? Or we can give them money. I have money. Whether it's me or my kind, we never want money, Thomas Bailey said. Thomas Bailey said. What those commanders are after is to resurrect our master. Master? You have a master? A great demon that ravaged Europe for 1,000 years. I was once a human, Thomas Bailey said. Kant's Mosa pretended to be our lord, and turned us into demons. He cast a spell on us to make us loyal to him. On the first day we were turned into demons, he gave us our first order. Thomas Bailey's body was trembling slightly. Molly turned to look at him. What was the first order he gave? Killing our family with my own hands. Thomas Bailey was already crying. My wife, and my child, I killed them with my own hands. Molly opened her mouth. She realized that she couldn't say anything to comfort him. There was nothing more painful than killing the people you loved with your own hands. Then, how did you break free from his control? I never broke free from his control, Thomas Bailey said. Thomas Bailey said. Even though he was sealed, his voice still echoed in my mind until we were also sealed. When I woke up from the seal again, that voice gradually disappeared. I woke up a few decades ago, and only after a long time did I realize that 1,000 years had passed. Later, I met someone of the same kind, and that person told me that because of the time of awakening, the effects of Kong Mosa were different. The later the demon awakened, the smaller the effect, and some demons who awakened very early were already planning to resurrect Kong Mosa. If a person could kill that great demon 1,000 years ago, they can do it now. It's impossible. Thomas Bailey shook his head. 1,000 years ago, there were powerful witches and priests everywhere in Europe. But now, there are very few spiritualists who can be considered powerful. Now, why are your kind looking for you? They seem to have found Kance Mosa's soul, Thomas Bailey said. They plan to gather the former demon army to take back Kance Mosa's soul and resurrect him. I refused, so they attacked me. By then, their car had already reached the coastal road. But then, their car broke down. Molly started the engine anxiously, but the car wouldn't start. Damn, I should have thrown this stupid car away long ago. Just then the convertible behind them stopped as well. Molly, don't get out. No matter what happens, don't come out. Thomas Bailey dragged his weak body out of the car and walked toward Chen Zhao and Little Grove. Chen Zhao and Little Grove also got out of the car. Thomas Bailey looked at the two of them. He wanted to tell if they were the same kind as him. Chen Zhao was also studying Thomas Bailey. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? Chen Zhao asked. Just as Thomas Bailey was about to speak, his gaze was suddenly attracted by something behind Chen Zhao. A blinding light shone on the people standing by the road. Chen Zhao also turned his head, but he couldn't see anything because of the blinding light. By the time he could see clearly, a huge force had already hit him. Boom! Chen Zhao was sent flying, and then rolled on the ground a few times. A large truck stopped in front of them. The truck was emitting a thick black aura. A figure got out of the truck. Thomas Bailey saw the person, and felt like he was facing a great enemy. She had a graceful figure with waist-length hair, and was dressed in tight clothes. Candolan, why won't you let me go? I'm already like this. Let you go? Traitors should be punished. You failed to live up to your master's expectations, so you should be punished. Candolan pulled out a pair of red daggers from his back. I was tricked the first time, but it won't happen again. You must die. Just then Chen Zhao, who'd been sent flying, stood up again. It hurts a lot. Why did you hit me with the car? Chen Zhao rubbed his forehead. Teacher, are you okay? Ritter Grove hurriedly ran over and asked in concern. Candolan and Thomas Bailey both stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Chen Zhao hadn't died from such a crash. Human, you're not dead? Candolan asked in surprise. Human? So you're not human? Chen Zhao looked at Candolan. To be honest, even Chen Zhao couldn't see anything strange about Candolan. Candolan grinned. Her face suddenly turned into a red-faced demon, with a pair of demon horns that curved like a goat's. What do you think? Demon? Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Thomas Bailey. You're a demon too? Since you're not one of us, you better run now, Thomas Bailey said. She's a demon of torture. If you fall into her hands, you might not even have a chance to die. Really? I'm quite experienced in this area. How about we exchange some ideas? Demon of torture. You want me to exchange ideas with you? Suddenly, Candolan's voice came from behind Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's neck tightened. Candolan's long hair had curled around his neck. Chapter 12:14. It definitely didn't feel good to have a mouthful of hair stuffed into his mouth. Moreover, the hair was still digging into his throat. Chen Zhao was furious. He couldn't spit out the hair. Chen Zhao grabbed Candoran's two horns and headbutt. Bang! Candoran was dizzy from Chen Zhao's headbutt. Chen Zhao headbutt again. Chen Zhao pulled out the hair in his mouth and pressed Candoran onto the ground. One punch, and another punch. Chen Zhao didn't kill, but Candoran still couldn't take Chen Zhao's punches. After a few punches, Candoran was already gasping for air. Chen Zhao pulled Candoran's horns and stood up again. Candoran was paralyzed on the ground. If Chen Zhao wasn't still pulling her horns, she would be a piece of rotten meat now. Thomas Bailey was dumbfounded. This female demon was Candoran. She was definitely not weak. But why was she so weak? Suddenly, the large truck that was parked not far away suddenly erupted with terrifying magic power. Thomas Bailey was shocked. He recognized this magic, and could even be said to have a deep memory of it. Just then Candoran slowly opened her eyes. She'd also woken up because of the magic. "You're dead. Lord Bustil is angry." Thomas Bailey jumped in fright. "Who's dear?" "Bostel, one of the 4 great commanders?" The truck suddenly burst into red flames, and a wild beast came out from inside the truck. It tore the truck apart. Hellfire burned on its body. It had the head of a bull, the body of a tiger, and a pair of wings on its back. Molly, who was hiding in the car, was also shocked. Thomas Bailey turned and charged toward the car. He pulled Molly, and was about to escape. But Bustil suddenly jumped and rushed in front of Thomas Bailey and Molly. "Thomas Bailey, do you think you can leave without my permission?" Thomas and Molly's faces paled. "Teacher." Lit Grove was also a little frightened. He'd heard that Chen Zhao had fought some monster or demon before. But this was his first time facing such a terrifying existence. "Drive further away," Chen Zhao said. "I don't want my car to be damaged in a battle." Ritter Grove wanted to leave the scene immediately. Hearing Chen Zhao's order, he immediately jumped into the car. But before he could start, Bustil jumped again. If he fell, Chen Zhao's car and Lit Grove would die for sure. "Teacher, help!" Little Grove shouted. "Fuck off." Chen Zhao suddenly sped up. He jumped up and kicked Bustil's stomach. Bustil suffered a heavy blow and smashed into the mountain wall by the side of the road. "Don't touch my car, you can't afford it." Lit Grove was speechless. Chen Zhao just wanted to save his car, not himself. Thomas Bailey stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. Was this guy human? He's fighting with Boozdir? Bustil stood up again and shook his head. "Roar!" Bustil let out an angry roar. His wings fluttered as he rose into the air. "How about being my mount? I need a ride right now." Chen Zhao looked at Bustil. This seemed like a good idea. He could fly, but he couldn't fly very high. It would be much more convenient if he had a mount. "Lowly human, you think you can?" Bustil hovered in the air and looked down at Chen Zhao. "Only Lord Kong Mosa has the right to ride me. Forget it if you don't want to." Chen Zhao looked at Bustil. "But if I can't have it, no one else can." Bustil suddenly opened his mouth and shot a mouthful of hell flame at Chen Zhao. The dark lava immediately blocked the hell flame. At the same time, Chen Zhao pointed his right arm at Bustil. The energy in the eye of the thunder filled the mouth of gluttony. Crack! Wild electric arcs pierced through Bustil. Bustil didn't expect Chen Zhao to attack like this. He fell from the sky. However, Chen Zhao's electric attack didn't cause any fatal damage. He stood up again. Of course, Chen Zhao's attack wasn't completely ineffective. Bustil was already injured. Little Grove didn't leave either. He watched the fight between Chen Zhao and Bustil. Although he was afraid, he was more interested in the battle between Chen Zhao and Bustil. In the past, he'd heard from others how Chen Zhao fought against powerful enemies. Today, he was finally lucky enough to witness Chen Zhao's fight. And his opponent was a powerful demon. Thomas Bailey and Molly were stunned by the battle in front of them. Especially Thomas Bailey. He knew very well how terrifying Bustil was. Bustil was one of the 4 leaders of the demon army. He was also Kong Mosa's mount. Back then, Bustil had killed 3 great demonesses and an archbishop. In the great battle 1,000 years ago, Bustil had been deliberately lured away in order to successfully seal Kong Mosa. But now, this man from the east had actually gained the upper hand with his own strength. "Human, do you really think you can beat me?" "Obviously." Chen Zhao shrugged. "I'm starting to get serious now." Bustil stared at Chen Zhao. Suddenly Candoran, whom Chen Zhao was holding, launched a sneak attack. Her hair curled around Chen Zhao's legs and body. "Human, go to hell." At the same time, Bustil also charged at Chen Zhao, his horns stabbing at Chen Zhao. Not good. Thomas Bailey cried in his mind. Clearly, the man had been too careless. He'd forgotten that there was a dangerous demon beside him. Suddenly Chen Zhao grinned. Everyone could feel the danger in Chen Zhao's smile. They all felt danger for no reason. He was the one in danger, but why was he smiling like this? Wuxia also stopped his charge in an instant. This guy was so dangerous. Bustil's beast-like instincts made him give up this impulse. He couldn't get close to him. Bustil took a few steps back. Chen Zhao stepped forward and tore off Kandarin's hair with his legs. Kandarin shrieked. After all, it was very painful to have one's hair torn off. Even a demon was no exception. Chen Zhao broke one of Kandarin's horns and charged at Bustil. Bustil wanted to fly again, but Chen Zhao had already jumped behind him. The demon's horns pierced into his skin. Then Chen Zhao pulled again. Rip! The skin on Bustil's back was torn open. Chapter 12:15. Bustil could feel what Chen Zhao was going to do. In fact, everyone saw it. Chen Zhao was going to skin Bustil. Blood splashed all over Chen Zhao's body. Bustil's blood burned Chen Zhao's body with a scorching heat. But Chen Zhao didn't care. As if he couldn't feel it. Bustil fell to the ground and rolled around, rubbing against Chen Zhao. He wanted to rub Chen Zhao off his back. But the exposed wounds touched the ground, making him feel even more pain. Chen Zhao pulled with all his might and jumped off Bustil's back. Half of Bustil's skin was peeled off. Everyone stared at Chen Zhao dumbfounded. By now, Bustil was on the verge of death. But the brutality didn't stop. Chen Zhao was still holding Kandarin's horn and skinning Bustil. From the looks of it, Chen Zhao looked more like a cruel demon. Grove, what do you think about putting this skin in the front hall of the association? Lit Grove's smile was forced. Great teacher. That's a great idea. He didn't dare to say if it was too terrifying. No matter how terrifying it couldn't be as terrifying as Chen Zhao, right? Lit Grove's fear of Chen Zhao had already seeped into his bones. One had to admit that Bustil had a tenacious life force. Even though his entire skin had been peeled off, he still didn't die. Chen Zhao patted the flames on his body. The dark lava started corroding his body. It wasn't like when the mother's body was corroded and turned black. After Bustil's body was corroded, it became mainly black. There were also red patterns. Finally, Bustil completely became Chen Zhao's puppet. His gaze wasn't so cruel anymore. There was only emotionless coldness. But Bustil's body was so big that Chen Zhao's dark lava had been used up quite a bit. Dark lava had always been one of Chen Zhao's trump cards, so he wasn't willing to use it to corrode useless enemies. For example, the larger Deep Abyss demons. In terms of strength, they were stronger than Bustil. But they would also use up more dark lava. So Chen Zhao didn't want to use dark lava to corrode the demon's body. However, although Bustil's strength was inferior to the abyssal demons, he could fly. Furthermore, he wouldn't consume too much darkness lava. Chen Zhao had never given up on the idea of making him his mount. Chen Zhao was still obsessed with flying in the sky. Although he could fly now, he couldn't soar freely. Therefore, finding a mount was a good choice. As for flying on his own, he could take his time. He believed that one day, he would be able to fly even higher. Ha! Chen Zhao turned around and saw Lit Grove holding a wrench and flipping Kandarin to the ground. Teacher, she wants to escape. Well done. Chen Zhao looked at Thomas Bailey. Thomas and Molly's faces were pale. The man in front of him was even more terrifying than a demon. They had witnessed with their own eyes how this man had cruelly killed this demon. It was an appalling act. Are you going to follow me obediently or fight me? Chen Zhao asked. This has nothing to do with her, Thomas Bailey said. She's just a normal person. If you want something, come at me. I don't care who she is to you, Chen Zhao said. Since she's with you, she's not unrelated. I can tell you whatever you want to know. As long as I know, I can tell you. Please let Molly go. Then who are you? And why are these two demons chasing you? I'm also a demon. Thomas Bailey revealed his true appearance. He had become tall and powerful. Chen Zhao and Lit Grove had already seen his true appearance. Because I don't want to continue following the demon army, Thomas Bailey said. They're chasing me as a traitor. I don't want to live the evil life from 1,000 years ago. Demon army? Chen Zhao was surprised. You're a member of Kong Mosa's demon army? You know Kong Mosa? Yes. The host of 1/3 of his soul is in my hands right now. Before the 15th of this month, the demon army will attack my territory. Only then did Thomas Bailey understand why there were so many of his kind. It turned out that they had to deal with such a terrifying enemy. However, no matter how powerful this man was, he was still just one person. He couldn't fight the entire demon army alone. Chen Zhao pointed at Bastir, who had completely become his puppet. Who is this guy? He's one of the 4 commanders, Bastir. Kong Mosa's mount. What about the other 3 commanders? How strong are they compared to this guy? Bastil is close to the other 2 commanders. The other 3 commanders are Undying Arrow, Shadow Vanguard Eden, and Doan Tucker. Among them, Doan Tucker is the most terrifying. It is said that he directly received 1/3 of Kan's Mosa's demonic power. Tell me what magic or battle techniques they're good at. Also, are there any similar strong people in the demon army? Undead Arrow has mastered necromancy. He can awaken the sleeping dead. Shadow Vanguard Eden never appears in front of the enemy. He will always appear behind the enemy. Candlin is Eden's subordinate. Also, Doan Tuck is the most mysterious great commander. No one knows how he fights, but there has never been an enemy he couldn't defeat. Thomas Bailey paused for a moment before continuing. Other than the 4 commanders, there are many other strong demons in the demon army. The 4 commanders were chosen because they were the strongest, but there are many demons who are close to them in strength. When we were transformed into demons, some received more demon power, while some received less. Take me for example. I'm one of the weaker ones. According to Thomas Bailey, there were a lot of demons similar to or close to Bastil. This also showed how terrifying the demon army was. Even Chen Zhao wasn't confident. It was easy for Chen Zhao to kill Bastir, but this didn't mean that Bastir was weak. If there were 10 Bastil attacking Chen Zhao, what if there were 100? Chapter 12:16. You can go, Chen Zhao said. With that, blackened Bastil sank into the dark lava. Then he dragged Candlin into the car and drove away. Thomas Bailey and Molly didn't expect Chen Zhao to leave so easily. When Chen Zhao and Lit Grove brought Bastil's leather back to the headquarters, it caused quite a commotion. Right now the demon skin still had a thick aura. Everyone who'd been sound asleep felt the demon's aura, and woke up in fright. They thought that there was an enemy invasion. But when they woke up, Chen Zhao was there. They relaxed a little. When they saw the demon's skin on the ground, they more or less knew what was going on. Candlin was also on the ground. Right now she was like a dead dog. She was probably scared by Chen Zhao's beating, or scared out of her wits. Throw her into the dungeon. We'll interrogate her tomorrow. Teacher, I'll watch. Lit Grove felt that this was related to him. After all, he'd caused it, so he was very proactive. He hadn't participated in the association's previous operations. He'd always felt that he didn't really fit in. Now that something had happened, he finally felt that he was a member of the association. Okay, see if you can pry her mouth open. If not, I'll come tomorrow. With that, Chen Zhao returned to the hotel. When he reached the hotel, he washed the blood off his body. Then he hugged Fei Lai and slept soundly. Fei Lai sensed Chen Zhao's return. She murmured, "Did you do bad things again? For world peace, go to sleep." The next morning, Del and Risfar came to disturb them. Even though their family was just experiencing the guests, however, Chen Zhao and Fei Lai wouldn't write their suggestions in their notebook. They'd say it in person. "Chen, can you do me a favor?" Risfar told Chen Zhao his thoughts directly. "I want the nameless wine." Chen Zhao nodded. "What? How much?" "At least 3 bottles per month." "Sure," Chen Zhao answered straightforwardly. "No more. 3 bottles per month." On one hand, he could afford it. On the other hand, it would not steal the limelight from Mara Supermarket. "These 3 bottles of wine will be the room fee. This room will be reserved for our family. We will come and stay here when we have time. Don't let others stay here, okay?" Risfar and Del both laughed. Chen Zhao didn't call this an exchange of benefits. It looked like a fair deal. But they all knew that Chen Zhao had purposely erased their relationship, so that they wouldn't feel bad. Chen Zhao was actually returning the favor. Risfar and Del had both helped him before. There are big and small things they help with. All these things, big and small, added up to feelings. Therefore, Chen Zhao didn't want to negotiate with them. Plus, the room's layout, orientation, interior, and scenery were all top-notch. Chen Zhao really liked it here. "Let's talk about our shortcomings here," Risfar said. "We've only been here for a day. How can we feel it? If I have to say something, it's that the people here are a little less. After all, it was only a trial operation, and there were only a few experienced guests. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. The door was open and Molly was standing in the doorway. Mr. Dell, Mr. Risfar, these are the suggestions made by the guests today. Please take a look. You management can handle this yourself. Make some changes if it's reasonable. The two of them were the bosses. Actually, they didn't need to decide on the changes. The hotel had a few hundred employees and 20 to 30 management staff. They were paid so that they could be in charge of the main operations. Chen Zhao glanced at Molly. Didn't she leave with her demon husband? Okay, then I won't disturb you anymore. Chun, can you tell us the supplier of your special ingredients? Risfar asked. I really can't, Johnny. If it's possible, I won't be stingy, but I really can't provide it to you. All right. Risfar didn't have much hope either. After all, he'd wanted the supplier when he'd attended the party earlier. Those creatures were almost all hunted by Chen Zhao. It wasn't some farm or hunting team. Risfar had actually guessed the problem with the supply. After all, with his experience, he'd eaten countless delicacies. The ingredients Chen Zhao provided at the private party were definitely top-notch. What were top-notch ingredients? Another meaning of top-notch ingredients was that they were rare. Oh, my brewery should start production in June or July. By then, if your hotel needs beer, you can have my products. It definitely won't disgrace your hotel. You're going to open a brewery? Dell and Risfar were both surprised. They weren't surprised that Chen Zhao knew how to brew beer. After all, Chen Zhao could brew a top-notch wine like the nameless wine. What surprised them was that Chen Zhao didn't even tell them beforehand. It's just an idea I had last month. Also, I need to save some money for myself. Chun, I won't talk too much about business, but I'll give you a suggestion for business. When you're almost done paying off the loan for your brewery, borrow some more money from the bank. Don't ever finish paying off the bank. Risfar's words were in line with Denver's philosophy. Denver's philosophy was also that they needed to maintain cooperation with banks through loans. Chen Zhao was a Chinese. The Chinese's philosophy was that if you borrowed money, you had to pay it back. It was normal for Americans to borrow money. Families were borrowing from the bank since the birth of a child. Therefore, they felt that borrowing money was normal no matter what they did. But as Chinese, they thought that borrowing money wasn't a good thing, because it would be a psychological burden. This was a difference in philosophy. Almost 80% of Americans were moonlighters. They had to rely on their next month's salary to survive. 46% of Americans didn't have more than $800 in savings. Actually, Chinese's philosophy of consumption had been changing in recent years. But deep down, Chinese people still felt that saving money was better than borrowing money. In the big picture, Americans' philosophy of consumption in advance was the root of economic prosperity. If everyone kept their money in the bank, then modern commerce would be destroyed. What was the purpose of social welfare? It was also to promote the concept of consumption. In the past, people needed to save money because they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to afford medical treatment if they got sick. But if the country bore a large portion, individuals and families wouldn't need to save so much money. Everyone could take out their money and use it immediately. Of course, it didn't mean that excessive consumption was always good. Americans' ability to resist risks was very weak. A single unemployment could destroy a family. Therefore, no one was right or wrong. Everything was reasonable. Chen Zhao still had his own ideas. In the current business model, when a businessman had money, he wouldn't pay it back. Instead, he would invest it in other areas or expand production, then borrow more money. If he could maintain this expansion method, he would earn more and more money and owe more and more to the bank. But the risk would also increase. If there was a problem in one part of the business model would be destroyed. Moreover, Chen Zhao had no ambition. To Chen Zhao, anything other than practicing medicine was an extra income. Chapter 12:17. In the afternoon, Chen Zhao arrived at the headquarters of the association. Teacher. Hearing that Chen Zhao had arrived, Lit Grove immediately ran out to welcome him. At the same time he asked for credit. Yes. Did you get any information from the interrogation last night? Teacher, I asked around. Actually, not all the demons in the demon army are willing to participate, Litgrove said. There are many examples like Thomas Bailey, Litgrove said. They were all converted from humans to demons. So many of their members are actually human. Chen Zhao wasn't surprised by Litgrove's words. Even a pure devil still had some humanity in them. No person or demon could obey others unconditionally. Loyalty and betrayal were opposites. Some succumbed to other people's inherent fear. Some for money. Some because they had something on them. Or they had their own goals. If Chen Zhao was sealed one day, he believed that there would be people in the association who would save him. Chen Zhao believed that there would be people in the society who would save him, and those who would protect themselves. No one could completely control others forever. So only half of the demons will participate in the attack on the association, Litgrove said. This was good news. It reduced the pressure of the attack by half. It was good news for both Chen Zhao and the association. Chen Zhao didn't mention the power to suppress everything. If Chen Zhao had to face 1,000 powerful demons, he would probably have to run too. So, half of them wouldn't participate. At least, it would increase their chances of winning. There's another general in the demon army, Undying Arrow. She's not willing to participate either. Are you sure Candolin is telling the truth? She wants to work with us. Work together? How? Chen Zhao was surprised. She wants the demon core of Shadow Vanguard Eden. She wants to replace Eden. If that's all, it's not enough for me to completely believe her. She said that she knows where Eden and her subordinates are hiding. We can launch an attack on Eden in advance to weaken the strength of the demon army. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. This was a good idea. Weakening the demon army in advance. After thinking for a while, Chen Zhao had an idea. Since Candolin was willing to cooperate, he would cooperate. Whether it was a trap or not, he would go. It would be best if it wasn't a trap. Everyone would benefit from it. If it was a trap, then he would beat him at his own game. Of course, Chen Zhao wouldn't foolishly dive in. What Chen Zhao had to do was to be fully prepared. No one was stupid. Chen Zhao thought that he was smart. He wouldn't treat those demons as fools. Whoever treats who as a fool is the real fool. Just then, Chen Zhao sensed something and raised his head. Chen Zhao saw a small figure standing at the edge of the rooftop of the headquarters. Chen Zhao was shocked. Isn't that Evans? Why did he go up there? Chen Zhao quickly ran to the bottom of the roof. Evans, what are you doing up there? Chen Zhao could go up and carry Evans down right now. However, Chen Zhao didn't do that. In order to ensure Evans' safety, he didn't want to use too extreme methods. Children were very innocent. If Chen Zhao flew up and hugged Evans this time, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Perhaps in Evans's mind, the next time he fell from above, he would appear again. The reason why some TV shows with young content would try to remove content like falling from buildings or playing with fire or water was because they didn't want to mislead children. Children didn't understand these things. They thought that what they saw was right. So if Evans hadn't fallen, Chen Zhao wouldn't have gone up. Evans lowered his head and looked at the display downstairs. I'm talking to Belle. Who's Belle? Chen Zhao asked curiously. Belle is Belle. Evans pointed outside the rooftop. Uncle, can't you see? Chen Zhao frowned. He didn't see anything. But in that instant, Chen Zhao really felt something appear. But he couldn't see it. Right now, Chen Zhao didn't think that it was Evans's hysteria. He believed that there were some things in the world that others couldn't see. Only a few people could see them. For example, only Chen Zhao could see Blackie. There was also the metal box that had led him to this path in the first place and the keys. Only Chen Zhao could see them. This had nothing to do with power. The strong were strong, and the weak were weak. He couldn't see them. Even if Chen Zhao placed the metal box before Beelzebub Zophie, the handsome boy, or Old Turtle, they still couldn't see it. Plus, Chen Zhao had felt it just now, so he believed that Evans had really seen something. It was also possible that that person, or that thing, had used some means to only let Evans see it. Chen Zhao had checked Evans before. He was just a regular kid. He didn't have the potential to become a spiritualist. Therefore, the possibility that he could see something, but Chen Zhao couldn't, was very low. There was only one possibility. That thing had appeared before Evans on its own. Also, it might not appear in a physical form. It might be a spiritual connection with Evans. In that instant, what Chen Zhao had felt might be a magic connection between this thing and Evans. Chen Zhao started to cover Evans and his surroundings with the small world. He felt something a few meters in front of Evans. Magic power? It wasn't magic power. It was a ball of spiritual power. Chen Zhao tried to communicate with this ball of mental power, but it didn't respond. Or rather, Chen Zhao didn't connect at all. Evans, say goodbye to Belle. Talk to him next time. I'll take you out to play, Chen Zhao said. Chen Zhao didn't know what the spiritual power connected to Evans was trying to do. But Belle wants me to accompany her too. Then you can come down to play. Don't stand so high. It'll hurt if you fall. Belle, I'm right. Let's go down, Evans said to the air. Not long after, Evans left the rooftop and came down from above. Chen Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. Grove, keep an eye on Evans in the association. Don't let him be alone. Chen Zhao went to Evans's room. He realized that there were many new drawings on Evans's table. Every drawing was horrifying. Just from the contents, Chen Zhao's first impression was that it was evil. Chapter 12:18. Chen Zhao waited until Gaia returned from the set. Chen Zhao told Gaia his guess. You're saying that there's something that you and I can't see approaching Evans? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Chen, do you have a solution? Not yet, Chen Zhao said helplessly. The thing isn't physical or spiritual. I can't even touch it. I can only vaguely feel its existence. Gaia fell into deep thought. She believed that if Chen Zhao had a solution, he wouldn't be stingy with helping her. Thankfully, there were many people in the union. There were usually people around and Chen Zhao had orders. Apart from when Evans was sleeping, there would always be someone by his side at all times. When Chen Zhao and Gaia walked into the headquarters, Dongya Tianqi and Jinkira came over. President, I've already made the weapon you wanted. I'm done too. President, I made it first. I was the one who made it first. Didn't you say it would take 10 days? You're done in half the time. Is it shoddy? Chen Zhao was suspicious of their speed. President, I haven't slept at all these days and haven't left the workshop. Jinkira looked at Chen Zhao with dark circles under his eyes. Chen Zhao looked at Dongya Tianqi. His eyes were also lifeless. In the past few days, the two of them had forged with all their might. They hadn't slept at all. Where's the weapon? Let me see. Both of them ran back to their workshops. Even when they ran, they didn't give an inch and bumped into each other. A few minutes later, the two of them came to Chen Zhao with a large pile of swords. President, look at the weapon I made for you first. Look at mine first. What's the rush? Are you in a rush to reincarnate? Chen Zhao said in annoyance. Dongya Tianqi, if you bring another pile of katanas, don't blame me for getting angry. Of course not. Dongya Tianqi had learned his lesson. Not to mention whether he still held to his previous viewpoint. If he continued to make katanas for Chen Zhao, he would definitely lose the bet. Okay, you first. President, please take a look at this great sword. It's 1.5 meters long, 15 centimeters wide, and weighs 225 kilograms. Isn't it too heavy? Dongya Tianqi asked. No. Chen Zhao lifted the heavy sword and tapped it with his finger. The engravings on the body of the sword were quite beautiful. They were inlaid with gold. When Chen Zhao picked up the heavy sword, he felt that it was sturdy. At the end of the sword, there was a barb guard, and the hilt was wrapped in a layer of beast skin. The main material of this heavy sword is a combination of magic tin gold and stoneware gold. Both are very heavy metals. And the hilt is wrapped in the skin of a magic rhinoceros, which makes it more comfortable to hold without hindering the user's mana. Dongya Tianqi said confidently. Not bad, I quite like this sword. Guild leader, please take a look at the center I've made for you before making your decision. Jinkira immediately became anxious. If Chen Zhao made his decision now, he would have nothing to do with it. President, this sword of mine weighs 455 kilograms and is 1.75 meters long. It is made of tin and titanium alloy. To be precise, this sword of mine is not a magic weapon. However, it fulfills your requirements of being heavy and durable. Chen Zhao accepted the sword that Jinkira had made. Indeed, the sword was wider and longer. Although it couldn't be infused with mana, it felt stronger. I like your sword more, Chen Zhao said. Jinkira was instantly overjoyed. He looked at Dongye Tianqi proudly. Guild leader, my sword is a magic weapon, Dongye Tianqi said unhappily. Hers is just a regular weapon. No matter how you look at it, she's the loser. I've told you my requirements. Heavy, durable, and doesn't require high mana conductivity. If I didn't have the weapon forged by Jinkira, and only have this sword of yours, I might like it. But now that I have this sword of hers, I still prefer the feel of her sword. Dongye Tianqi, I won. Now you have to call me teacher. Wait, it's not over yet, Dongye Tianqi said immediately. Guild leader, there's still the 12 light swords you requested. Dongye Tianqi placed the 12 light swords before Chen Zhao. Jinkira didn't back down either. He placed the 12 light swords that he'd made before Chen Zhao. These 12 swords are made of Qingyu Bailing. Although Qingyu Bailing isn't made of metal, it has been soaked in the blood of 9 different magical creatures. Not only is it stronger than normal metal, but it also has a strong mana conductivity. At the same time, it's also very light. Each sword weighs less than 5 kilograms, Dongye Tianqi said. That's right. My work is made of spirit iron. It also has strong mana conductivity. The sword weighs 7 kilograms. Chen Zhao first tried Dongye Tianqi's light sword. As he'd said, it was very light and had excellent mana conductivity. Then he tried Jinkira's light sword. The effect was not bad, but it wasn't as good as Dongye Tianqi's. Both mana conductivity and weight couldn't compare to Dongye Tianqi's weapon. Let's see whose is harder. Chen Zhao each took a light sword and knocked it against each other. In the collision of metal and metal, a corner of Jinkira's light sword flew off, while Dongye Tianqi's weapon was unharmed. In this round, Chen Zhao used the most direct way to compete, so Jinkira lost wholeheartedly. This light sword is Dongye Tianqi's victory. Guild leader, does that mean I won? Dongye Tianqi was overjoyed. Why did you win? We each won 1 round. It should be a tie, Jinkira corrected immediately. I have 12 swords, but you only have 1. Of course I win in terms of numbers. One of my swords weighs more than 12 of your swords. In that case, I should be the one to win. Neither gave in. Neither was willing to give in. This is my first time trying a heavy sword, and I misunderstood the guild leader's needs. I won't lose to you next time. A loss is a loss. Why find so many excuses? Alright, stop arguing. Both of you are in a tie, so don't be unhappy. If you can completely crush your opponent, then show me your strength. What's the point of arguing now? Although both of your weapons are good, they haven't completely met my requirements. Dongye Tianqi's 12 light swords and Jinkira's heavy sword will be mine. Whoever can create a sword that meets my requirements first will be the final winner. Guild leader, does my heavy sword still have flaws? It's not heavy enough, and it's not durable enough, Chen Zhao said. My heavy sword isn't durable enough? Chen Zhao wanted to show Jinkira how he'd destroyed her proud weapon. However, it was rare to have a spare weapon. Chen Zhao didn't want to destroy it directly. My fighting habits have determined that this sword of yours can only be used for a few battles. Chapter 12:19. Jinkira had always maintained a psychological advantage over Chen Zhao. Maybe it was because she really hadn't seen Chen Zhao fight. Plus, Chen Zhao wasn't here every day, and she was always in the workshop, so she didn't know what Chen Zhao was doing. So she always thought that Chen Zhao was a management type. She felt that the weapons she forged were enough for Chen Zhao. She really didn't understand why Chen Zhao needed better weapons. Both Jinkira and Dongye Tianqi were of a higher level. Whether it was the light or heavy swords they forged, they weren't at their highest level. Of course, there were also better materials. With more time and energy, one could definitely forge better weapons. But they didn't think that it was necessary. Chen Zhao didn't know what they were thinking. If he did, he would definitely slap them to death. Chen Zhao took the weapons. As soon as he left, Wes came over. The two of you take this ring. This ring will allow you to enter the training tower. What Tower of Trials? That's the one over there. You can train your combat skills inside. No need, Dongye Tianqi said. I'm busy training my forging skills. I don't need it either. Both of them had their own personalities. They didn't want to give in to each other, especially since neither of them had won this round. They were both angry. On the way back, Chen Zhao saw a familiar figure in the convenience store. Hi, Sharon. Sharon was sitting in front of her car, drinking milk tea. She looked up and saw Chen Zhao greeting her. Chen Zhao got out of the car and also bought a cup of milk tea. He leaned against Sharon's car and chatted with her. Are you on the night shift today? I'm not in charge of traffic anymore, Sharon said. I should congratulate you. You should congratulate yourself. At least I won't catch you breaking the rules anymore. Actually, there were no pure traffic police in America. If a police officer found a traffic violation on the road, they would also take care of it. However, the main managers were police officers like Sharon, who were in charge of traffic control. Of course, if they encountered other types of crimes, they would also take care of it. In particular, if Sharon met Chen Zhao on the road, she might have to take care of him again. Chen Zhao would chat with Sharon every time he met her on the road. By the way, your car is parked in a temporary parking space. Sharon looked at the time. You can't park for more than 15 minutes. You still have 10 minutes. Remind me at the last minute, Chen Zhao said, rolling his eyes. At that moment, another convertible stopped by the roadside. A man got out of the car, holding a bouquet of roses in his hands. Shalon for you. Saran looked at the man expressionlessly. Inro, I think I made myself very clear last time. Or did you not understand me? Sharon looked at the man impatiently. Chen Zhao watched the show from the side with interest. He wondered if he should help her and act as her temporary boyfriend. Sharon, I really like you. I will use my actions to prove my feelings. No matter what you do, I won't like you. Just give up, Sarah said coldly. I don't ask you to accept me now, but please accept this bouquet of roses. Just then, Chen Zhao walked up and took the roses. This bouquet of roses is very beautiful. I thank you on behalf of Sharon. Inro's expression froze. You are. What do you think our relationship is? Chen Zhao looked at Inro with a smile. We're not a couple, right, Sharon? Inro turned to look at Sharon. Expressionlessly, Sharon looked at Inro. Why not? Why do you like him? How can I not be compared to him? Inro stared at Sharon angrily. You can't compare to him in any way. Sharon sneered at Inro. She had long been annoyed by Inro. Since Chen Zhao was willing to help her, she might as well go with the flow. Fine, Sharon. Even if you have a boyfriend, I don't care. I will use my actions to prove that I'm the most suitable for you. Goodbye. Chen Zhao waved his hand with a smile. Inro's face was livid as he turned to leave. Do you hate him? An idiot, Sharon said. He actually naively thinks that if he pursues me, my father will invest in his company. Chen Zhao was also a bit shocked. American society was different from China. In China, if a son-in-law married into a woman's family, and there were no other heirs in the family, the man would gradually take over the management of the woman's family. However, for a family business like America, management would rarely change just because the man married into the family. It was also not like the man could enter management just because he married the heiress of the family. Even if the woman inherited the family business in the future, it had nothing to do with her husband. Moreover, for a marriage like theirs, they would definitely sign a prenuptial agreement before marriage. Even if he really pursues me, Sharon said, my father won't invest $50 million in his company. What's his company's business? Chen Zhao asked curiously. Travel company, Sharon said. Oh, he mostly receives tourists from Southeast Asia. $50 million for a travel company? Is he planning to use dollars to cover the Pacific Ocean? He's just an opportunist. It's about time. I should go. If I don't, you're going to give me a ticket. Chen Zhao stuffed the rose into Sharon's hands. This is for you. Can you be more sincere when you give me a gift next time? Sharon looked at the rose in her hands, and then stuffed it into the trash can beside her. Chen Zhao didn't drive for long before he felt a car following him. Chen Zhao looked at the car. Wasn't it Inro's car? Chen Zhao parked the car by the roadside. Inro's car was also parked behind. Inro got out and walked to Chen Zhao's side. Sir, how about we get to know each other? Inro put his hands on Chen Zhao's car door. What do you want? Chen Zhao looked at Inro. It's about Sharon. And Chen Zhao looked at Inro. You know what Sharon's family does, right? We're already boyfriend and girlfriend. Do you think I wouldn't know? Do you want a lot of money? How much? 5 million. Chen Zhao frowned at Inro. After all, it was only 5 million. Was he really that cheap? Look at my car first. Then we can talk about the price. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Chen Zhao and Inro both drove convertibles, but Chen Zhao's was a Porsche 918, while Inro's was less than $100,000. Inro's expression froze. Fine 10 million. Chapter 12:20. Inro narrowed his eyes at Chen Zhao. You have the same idea, right? Of course. Why would I be with Sharon if I didn't? She's bad-tempered and hard to please. If I have money, I'd rather find someone gentle and caring. Chen Zhao didn't feel any guilt when he said such shameless words. Inro understood Chen Zhao's words very well. He treated Chen Zhao as someone in the same industry. In other words, they were the so-called professional gigolos. However, Inro wasn't a normal gigolo. Inro didn't do business for 10 years, but once he did, he could eat for 10 years. He'd been looking for Sharon for a long time this time. However, Chen Zhao was happy about Inro's misunderstanding. Finally, someone recognized his looks and thought that he had the right to be a gigolo. It wasn't easy. Did you rent this car? No, I got it from the rich woman I tricked last time, Chen Zhao said. Where's that rich woman? I worked with someone to make her bankrupt and get tens of millions of dollars. Inro gasped. He didn't expect that Chen Zhao wasn't only a kindred spirit, but also had methods that weren't weaker than his. At the same time, he believed that he'd found the right person. It's not easy to get money from Sharon's father. He's famous for being stingy. What's your original plan? Inro asked. I'll get her first, and then find a piece of land. Then, I'll tell Sharon that we don't have enough money to buy the land. She'll pay for it, and then I'll transfer it from left to right. Then how are you going to get out? Inro asked. Even a married couple had to pay debts. Plus, the court wouldn't support the man for such a huge transfer. That's easy, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Just mortgage the land to Sharon's family. That's too difficult, Inro said. If you cooperate with me, I can definitely make more money for you. It'll be easier too. What's your plan? Chen Zhao asked. I have a shell company. Try to convince Sharon to invest in my company, and then make it bankrupt in 3 months. The money in the company can be transferred to an overseas account. It's absolutely safe and fast. She can't get the money back even if she wants to. I'll think about it, Chen Zhao said. In fact, Inro's method was even cruder and less reliable than Chen Zhao's. To put it bluntly, he was using feelings to swindle people. Shell companies could deceive ordinary people. But could they deceive a billionaire? This was obviously impossible. To be able to become a billionaire, who was a fool? Any random commercial detective could turn Inro's background upside down. Even Chen Zhao's investment of 30 million had to be evaluated multiple times. He had to find experts and banks for multiple reviews. Why would the investors invest in a shell company? Give me a contact number so that we can contact and discuss, Inro said. Chen Zhao gave him a number, but it wasn't Chen Zhao's number. It was West's. Chen Zhao didn't want him to disturb his phone. If Inro found out that he had been tricked and spread his phone number, he might be harassed by him. So he gave West's number to Inro. At that time, even if they wanted to harass him, it would be West, not him. This is my assistant's number, Chen Zhao said. Inro increasingly felt that Chen Zhao wasn't simple. He actually had a personal assistant. No wonder he could trick rich women out of their money. He'd tricked a few women too, but the most he got was a few $100,000. After Chen Zhao left, he sent the recording to Sharon. Not long after, Sharon called him. Chen, what's going on? That Inro just found me again. He wants to work with me to cheat your father of his money. This asterisk shoal. I won't let him go. Actually, Sharon didn't need Chen Zhao's reminder. She already knew Inro's background. But with this kind of ugly and naked evidence in front of him, his mentality changed. Sharon originally didn't want to talk to Inro, but now this recording completely ignited Sharon's anger. Do you need me to provide a gun? Chen Zhao teased. It's not convenient for you to use your gun. After a moment of silence, Sharon said, I'll give you $50,000. Help me teach this asterisk shoal a lesson. How about that? $50,000? She was too cheap. That's against the law. You're a cop. Chen Zhao didn't want to have too much to do with Inro. With his relationship with Sharon, reminding her was already very kind of him. He didn't have to help her teach Inro a lesson. Moreover, Sharon's father should be capable enough. He didn't even have to do it himself. If it was a good friend of his like Steven or Dell, it would be a waste of time. If they met such a scammer, he would help them teach the scammer a lesson. But he and Sharon definitely weren't good friends. Alright, I'm not asking you to kill anyone. Whatever. If he finds me again, I'll think of a way to teach him a lesson, Chen Zhao said. Chen Zhao had too many ways to teach scammers a lesson. It didn't matter if it was the underworld or the legal world. Moreover, such people didn't deserve sympathy. He definitely tricked many people. Most of them were women. Even if he killed him, he would be helping the people. Of course, the prerequisite was that Imro came to him. Chen Zhao's job scope didn't include helping the people. After returning to the hotel, Chen Zhao met Molly in the lobby. Seeing Chen Zhao walk in, Molly immediately walked up. Mr. Chen, can we talk? About what? About my husband. Is there a problem? Bailey hopes to get your protection. He's a demon, and I'm a spiritualist. In terms of status, we're natural enemies. I've already shown my kindness by not killing him. But now you want me to protect him. That's not appropriate. To be frank, he wasn't related to Thomas Bailey at all. Why should he protect him? Bailey said he knows Doan Tucker's weakness. He told me yesterday that he didn't even know Doan Tucker's abilities. But now he's telling me that he knows Doan Tucker's weakness. Just this is enough reason for me to kill him, Chen Zhao said, narrowing his eyes. He's not lying, Molly quickly said. There's something in the Norton Simon Museum that can restrain Doan Tucker. Oh, Norton Simon Museum? What's that? Chapter 1221. Ever since the Norton Simon Museum's last theft, the security system had been upgraded. Even the security guards were fully armed. The security team had increased to 30 people. Even at night, there were still 15 people on duty. It was almost impossible to burglarize the Norton Simon Museum, unless Chen Zhao charged in and forced his way in. Otherwise, it was basically impossible to succeed. Also, Molly had said that it was Austria's national treasure. Stealing or robbing was impossible, so he could only buy it. Chen Zhao didn't plan on spending tens of millions of dollars on something that could only be used once. Mr. Chen, Molly said, maybe you're not interested, but Doan Tucker definitely won't let something that can threaten him exist. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. Doan Tucker wants to steal the sacred eye. Yes, that's what Thomas Bailey said. I'll give you an address. You and Thomas Bailey can stay there for a while. Chen Zhao gave Molly the address of the association's headquarters. But after you get there, you can't walk around casually, because there are some secrets there. But as long as you stay there, I can guarantee you're in your husband's safety. Okay, I understand. The next day, Chen Zhao brought Fei Lai and Zherlin back to Mirror Lake. They'd experienced the experience here. Fei Lai and Zherlin still liked home. After all, there were people serving them at home. A group of underlings would come whenever they were called. Dell and Risvar's hotel was good, but it wasn't as convenient as home. Chen Zhao also didn't let Zherlin enter the hotel's public swimming pool. Who knew how dirty the public swimming pool was? No one knew what people left in it. Fei Lai was already 25 weeks pregnant. Her belly was already huge. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai were both looking forward to the birth of their second child. Chen Zhao also accompanied Fei Lai to do a pregnancy test. The child was very healthy. Chen Zhao didn't go out these 2 days. He just accompanied Fei Lai and Zherlin. He played the piano and read at home. To be honest, Chen Zhao didn't dare to use much strength on the heavy sword that Jinkira had made for him. He was afraid that it would break accidentally. This made Chen Zhao very depressed. If he didn't use much strength, a weapon was no different from nothing. It wasn't as comfortable as swinging his fist. On the other hand, the 12 light swords forged by Dongye Tianqi were much easier to use. Chen Zhao wanted to create something like sword qi or knife qi. Just like Dongye Tianqi, he could unleash the power of his blade. However, Chen Zhao couldn't do it. This wasn't the path he was taking. Chen Zhao entered the river map and spent a lot of time there. Chen Zhao, Old Turtle said, looking at Chen Zhao. You've been here quite frequently these days. He was still fishing and cultivating his state of mind. You really brought a lot of things. I plan to forge a sword myself and start learning from the beginning. I have plenty of time anyway. I'm afraid you won't be able to learn it even if you study for the rest of your life. I have plenty of time. I'm not afraid. Some people are born unsuited for this. Not to mention ordinary blacksmiths. Even skilled blacksmiths need to have the right state of mind to forge weapons. With your state of mind, you will never be able to forge a good weapon in your lifetime. Old Turtle said, that's not something time can make up for. Even if you forge for the rest of your life, you'll only become a good blacksmith. You won't become a good blacksmith. Old Turtle's words dispelled Chen Zhao's thoughts. But I just lack a good weapon right now, Chen Zhao said, depressed. Since ancient times, few people who have reached your level have lived by relying on weapons forged by others. Then what should I do? Empty-handed? At your level, creating a spell should be a piece of cake for you. Chen Zhao glanced at Old Turtle. Although he was at this level, he didn't walk the path of meditation, so he lacked basic knowledge. Chen Zhao's main focus was still the Qingyi manual. He could memorize the incantations in the manual by heart. However, he didn't know much about Taoism's thoughts and knowledge. Usually Taoist cultivators' theoretical realms were higher than their actual realms. Right now, Chen Zhao's actual realm was higher than his theoretical realm. He couldn't create his own spell. He should study the Qingyi sect's records first. The founder of the Qingyi sect, Shangliu Qingyi, was an ultimate transformation master. Most of the records were created by Shangliu Qingyi when he was in the ultimate transformation realm. However, most of them were based on Mao Mountain spells. To put it bluntly, Shangliu Qingyi was standing on the shoulders of a giant. Although Shangliu Qingyi's realm was lower than Chen Zhao's, it didn't mean that the spells he created weren't suitable for Chen Zhao. Shangliu Qingyi was clearly a person whose theoretical realm was higher than his actual realm. Many of his spells were based on the ultimate transformation realm and looked at the Shangqing realm. These techniques could be used under the ultimate transformation realm, and they could also be used above the ultimate transformation realm. Most of the spells of the Qingyi sect were like this. Because of this, the Qingyi sect had never been famous. Because the spells of the Qingyi sect looked ordinary and unremarkable. These spells were most suitable to be used in the ultimate transformation realm, because they were spells that Shangliu Qingyi had created for the ultimate transformation realm, or the Shangqing realm. When used below the ultimate transformation realm, their power would naturally decrease. Because of this, outsiders didn't think that the spells of the Qingyi sect were just so. After Shangliu Qingyi, the Qingyi sect didn't have a single ultimate transformation disciple. Chen Zhao could be counted as half, but that was all he could do. The members of the Qingyi sect had always been more theoretical than actual. For example, Li Qing's theoretical realm was even higher than Chen Zhao's. Come, sit with me for a while and calm down. Old Turtle waved his hand. Chen Zhao glanced at the Old Turtle. He couldn't sit for decades like the Old Turtle. Your biggest problem now is that you've learned too many things, Old Turtle said. Old Turtle said, you have 2 bloodlines in your body, many special abilities, the spells of the Qingyi sect, the rhythmic sword manipulation art, and the outside body incarnation. Any one of these abilities of yours is enough to stand on your own. However, you are a mixed bag. You have reached the Shangqing realm, but your strength is not there yet. Chen Zhao frowned. I've reached the realm, but why isn't my power? Ever since I understood the clarity of heaven and earth, I feel like I've become much stronger. What you feel is actual improvement. You've always focused on breaking through spells with force. So after understanding the clarity of heaven and earth, what you feel is the improvement of your body. This feeling is the most obvious. But do you really have the power to understand the clarity of heaven and earth? Hearing this, Chen Zhao fell into deep thought. Chapter 12:22. Chen Zhao had been sitting by the river for 10 days and 10 nights. After 10 days, Chen Zhao still hadn't gained anything. No wonder the ancient cultivators usually went into seclusion for 3 to 5 years. With Chen Zhao's personality, he really wasn't suitable to be a cultivator. However, Chen Zhao's greatest advantage was time. Old Turtle sat beside Chen Zhao and spoke for the first time in 10 days. To draw, you have to draw the outline. To write a book, you have to write the outline. To create a spell, you have to create the intention first. If you don't even know what intention you want to create, how are you going to do it? Intention? Chen Zhao sat for another 10 days. There were too many thoughts in Chen Zhao's mind. Too many thoughts actually delayed Chen Zhao's thinking. On the 11th day, an idea suddenly flashed through Chen Zhao's mind. Why did he think so much? His comprehension wasn't high, and his Taoist theories were shallow. Thinking so much about the complicated nature of heaven and earth was just asking for trouble. He didn't need to think about whether he should pass it down or pass it on to his descendants. What he needed was a spell that was suitable for him, a spell that could fully unleash his power. It was just that simple. After thinking through this, Chen Zhao was suddenly enlightened. His thoughts spun extremely quickly. Soon an idea appeared. Suddenly, Chen Zhao split into 12 clones. Then the dark lava surged into the 12 clones and corroded them. Then, the dark lava fused into Chen Zhao's real body. The 12 clones were connected by the dark lava. All of their power fused into Chen Zhao's real body. Chen Zhao felt an unprecedented surge in his body. Chen Zhao didn't know how much power he had now. But now, Chen Zhao had merged the 12 clones and his real body into one. If the clones were created after splitting, then now it was 10,000 techniques returned to one. There were no complicated operations. It was just a simple thought. With his real body as the base, Chen Zhao's power instantly multiplied. When he was in the ultimate transformation realm, Chen Zhao already had the limit of close to 200 tons of strength. After the world became clear, his body underwent a qualitative leap again. His power multiplied again. Now with the 10,000 techniques returned to one, it multiplied again. Right now, Chen Zhao's power had reached a terrifying level. That wasn't all. If Chen Zhao received an external impact or attack, he could also transmit the impact to his clone through the dark lava. Chen Zhao's defense reached an unprecedented level. Old Turtle opened his eyes again and looked at him. What is this spell called? All techniques return to one. The name is a bit big, but it's quite appropriate for your spell. You'll have to continue perfecting it in the future. What you've done so far is enough. Chen Zhao left the river diagram. After many days of comprehension, he finally had a good result. 20 days in the river diagram was only an hour in the outside world. At the moment, there were two places that could help Chen Zhao the most. One was the river diagram. It gave Chen Zhao enough time to cultivate, and Old Turtle could teach him. The other place was the Tower of Trials, which was the place of proof. Everything Chen Zhao had learned and thought had to be proven in the Tower of Trials. Ever since Chen Zhao had comprehended the clarity of heaven and earth, he hadn't had any interest in the Tower of Trials. He hadn't entered the Tower of Trials because he had barely passed the 7th level when he was in ultimate transformation. Then, after comprehending the clarity of heaven and earth, Chen Zhao kept feeling that he was missing something. After coming out of the river diagram, Chen Zhao finally felt that he had made up for what he was missing. Then he went straight to the headquarters of the association. Without greeting anyone, he entered the Tower of Trials directly. The monster on the 7th level was a lava giant. It was also where the bronze sword had broken. That was probably Chen Zhao's toughest battle. One had to kill 1,000 lava giants in order to clear this stage. The 8th level would definitely be several times more difficult than the 7th. After entering the 8th level, Chen Zhao realized that he was on a turbulent ocean. Chen Zhao flew up and hovered above the surface of the sea. Right now, Chen Zhao's heart was as calm as still water. He allowed the waves to surge. A small world opened up, covering both the surface and the bottom. Chen Zhao didn't know where the attack would come from. Suddenly, Chen Zhao felt something approaching underwater. It had entered his small world. The next moment, a bloody mouth lunged at Chen Zhao from below. It was a huge shark, more than 30 meters long. Its two dorsal fins were arranged side by side like two rows of blades. On both sides of this huge shark's bloody mouth, there was a pair of exposed bony teeth that looked like pincers. Frenzied Ocean Demon was the shark's name. The Frenzied Ocean Demon didn't use its mouth to bite Chen Zhao. Instead, it shot out a water column. Chen Zhao quickly dodged. The water column shot up to 100 meters in the air. It was obvious how powerful it was. If Chen Zhao was hit by the water column in the air, he would probably be injured. Chen Zhao landed immediately. He charged into the frenzied ocean demon's mouth and tore it apart with brute force. One frenzied ocean demon clearly wasn't a threat to Chen Zhao. He stood on its corpse floating on the surface and gazed into the distance. Just then the surface of the sea in the distance started rolling. It was as if thousands of soldiers were charging at Chen Zhao. It was thousands of frenzied ocean demons stirring up waves. Frenzied ocean demons were water hell creatures. One frenzied ocean demon could shoot out water spells, so it wasn't strange for thousands of them to raise huge waves. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and looked at the 10-meter-tall waves in the distance. He could totally hide in the sky. However, he'd come to the 8th level of the Tower of Trials to prove his self-created spells returned to 1. If he avoided it, it would be meaningless for him to come here. Chen Zhao immediately activated 10,000 spells return to 1. Facing the huge wave that was surging toward him, Chen Zhao's eyes widened. The waves arrived, but the next moment, Chen Zhao was sent flying by them. Chen Zhao could feel his body crumbling. Instant kill. Dead. Chen Zhao left the Tower of Trials and was dumbfounded. He'd been too pretentious. Even he didn't expect to be instantly killed. The waves created by thousands of frenzied ocean demons weren't stacked on top of each other. Instead, they were attacking as one. It was similar to Chen Zhao's spells returned to 1. It was also the combined attack of thousands of frenzied ocean demons. No matter how strong Chen Zhao was, he couldn't fight against thousands of frenzied ocean demons alone. This was a clash of absolute power. Chen Zhao lost. He'd lost completely. He'd lost without any suspense. This was the result of being too arrogant. When Chen Zhao had comprehended spells returned to 1, he'd almost thought he was invincible. But the 8th level of the Tower of Trials had slapped him hard in the face. Although he was depressed, it also made Chen Zhao even more excited. After all, this was his true defeat. Chen Zhao had already reimagined and rearranged his strategy. He definitely couldn't fight head-on. Even spells returned to 1 couldn't fight against that level of power. So one way to pass was to avoid the combined attack of the frenzied ocean demons, and then break them apart. Chapter 1223. It was almost impossible to fight the frenzied sea demons head-on on the 8th floor. Based on individual strength, a single frenzied sea demon should be able to shoot out around 30 tons of water. Then 1,000 frenzied sea demons would create a huge wave of 30,000 tons. Thousands of frenzied sea demons attacking at the same time would exceed 100,000 tons. Most importantly, when they united, they were able to concentrate all of their power. This was the scariest part about them. Unless Chen Zhao's strength and resistance could increase by 20 times, he wouldn't be killed instantly. This was clearly impossible. At least, Chen Zhao couldn't do it now. This gap was no longer a gap of 1 level, but a gap of a whole realm. Actually, if he dodged the first wave, it wouldn't be hard to break through the 8th floor. At least Chen Zhao had the ability. It wasn't impossible to kill 1,000 frenzied sea demons. However, Chen Zhao didn't want to use a roundabout method. He hoped that he wouldn't avoid the first attack. Currently, if Chen Zhao wanted to increase his strength, he had to expand the coverage of the small world and increase the number of clones. Chen Zhao couldn't create thousands of clones like Old Turtle. Moreover, this kind of clone could create 12 clones for the first time. The next upgrade wouldn't be from 12 to 13, but multiple times. The first time, he could create 12 clones. The second upgrade would create 24. The third would be 48. And the fourth would be 96. Chen Zhao's clones were formed before he reached ultimate transformation. Now that the world was clear, the quality and quantity of his magic were more than 10 times stronger than before. The problem was that the quality of his clones had also increased. It was like how Chen Zhao could afford 12 tractors in the past, but he could afford 12 supercars now. But if he wanted to buy 24 supercars, he wouldn't be able to afford it. That was the logic. It was the same for clones. Whether it was expanding the small world or multiplying the number of clones, he couldn't do it in a short period of time. Chen Zhao planned to go to the Norton Simon Museum to see the situation there. The security at the Norton Simon Museum was very strict. Every visitor had to go through a metal detector before entering the museum. Entering the museum, Chen Zhao found the sacred eye. The sacred eye was carved into a hexagonal gem. The gemstone's milky white color was familiar. But even through the bulletproof glass, Chen Zhao could still feel a hint of holiness. Chen Zhao rubbed his eyes. Damn, isn't this holy eye angelic crystal? No one in the world was more familiar with angelic crystals than him. This should be a perfect angelic crystal. But after hundreds of years of wear and tear, this angelic crystal had lost too much of its holy aura. Chen Zhao was a bit disappointed. He'd thought it was something good, and had been eyeing it for a few days. In the end it was just this, but Chen Zhao was very happy. He had a lot of perfect angelic crystals, and even super perfect angelic crystals. After Chen Zhao left the Norton Simon Museum, he did not go far. Instead he waited for night to fall. Night gradually fell. Chen Zhao saw a modified armored vehicle charge into the museum. Then intense gunshots and explosions sounded from the museum. Chen Zhao was a bit speechless. These people were really bold. At the very least, Chen Zhao wouldn't dare to launch such a brazen attack. In less than 5 minutes, the armored vehicle appeared. After the armored car drove out of the museum, it entered the compartment of a large truck and disappeared into the night. Chen Zhao followed them all the way, but he didn't drive. Instead, he hid in the air. In order to move in the night, Chen Zhao wore a black suit today. It was very hidden in the night. Plus, he was 100 meters in the air, so it was difficult for the robbers to discover him. In the truck, a few people got off the armored vehicle. There was also a tall woman standing in the carriage. She wore a camouflage uniform and crossed her arms in front of her chest. Looking at her companions, she asked, "Benris, did you get it?" "Yes." Benris took out the holy eye. "Send that person a message," the camouflaged woman said. "He sent us a message to meet at the end of Route 22. The end of Route 22? How far is it from here? 40 kilometers from the city. It's a desert." Benris looked at the coordinates on the map and then said, "Nikki, should we prepare?" "Just do what you usually do this time," Nikki said. "Don't go overboard in case that person notices anything wrong." Half an hour later, the car reached the end of Route 22. Drive the armored vehicle down just in case. The armored vehicle was modified from an off-road vehicle, but its performance was very similar to an armored vehicle. It was also equipped with many military weapons, such as a 12mm machine gun and a continuous machine gun. These were all weapons that only the military could equip. It was already a small war fortress. Everyone held a machine gun and wore night vision goggles, waiting for their target to arrive. "There's no thermal imaging within a kilometer," Benris said gloomily, looking around. "Did that person give the wrong address?" "Patience," Nikki said calmly, standing on the hood of the armored vehicle. Suddenly, Nikki saw a figure walking over in the distance. 400 meters southwest, Nikki said. Benris turned in the direction Nikki was looking at, but the night vision goggles didn't find anything. It was empty. "There's nothing over there?" Nikki frowned. "Take off the night vision goggles and look again." Benris pulled on the night vision goggles and looked southwest. Indeed, he saw a person walking towards them. That's strange. He clearly saw the person with his eyes, but why couldn't the night vision goggles detect him? "Maybe he's wearing some kind of heat-blocking device," Nikki said. "Is that person a missionary?" Nikki watched the person walk closer. He was indeed dressed like a missionary. He wore a priest's gray robe and a small round hat, holding an old Bible in his hand. "Hello, lost sheep. I'm Don Tucker, your employer." Don Tucker was like a kind priest. He had a gentle smile on his face, and his tone was so gentle that it was hard to be wary. Chapter 12:24. Nikki looked at Tan Tucker. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew past. Nikki's body trembled, and he became more alert. "Mr. Tucker, let's make a deal first. We've brought what you want. Where's our money?" "I didn't bring any," Tan Tucker said with a faint smile. "Are you messing with us?" Nikki raised his gun and pointed at Tan Tucker's forehead. "There's a box over there," Tan Tucker said, pointing to the left. "Ben Harris, go take a look." Ben Harris walked a few steps and saw 4 big boxes in front of him. Ben Harris raised his hand but couldn't lift it. So heavy. What's in the box? Ben Leasy opened the box and was instantly blinded by the dazzling golden object in front of him. Nikki, someone come and carry it over. A few people ran over. They were also shocked by the things in the box. Gold, so much gold. Nikki was also stunned when he saw everyone carrying the 4 big boxes over. There's 500 kilograms of gold here. I think it should be enough to pay you. Tan Tucker smiled faintly. You didn't say you would pay us with gold. They had to sell the gold first, so they had to pay for it. Where's the thing I want? Tan Tucker didn't care about Nikki's dissatisfaction. Nikki took out the Eye of Holy Ground and extended his hand in front of Don Tucker. Tan Tucker extended his dry hand and picked up the sacred eye. A strange smile appeared on his face. Hee. Suddenly, Don Tucker clenched his fist and crushed the Eye of the Holy Land. You, Tan Tucker's smile turned cold. It's fake. Miss Nikki, is this how you do things? How can you say it's fake? Nikki's expression turned unnatural too. Tan Tucker's gaze was cold, as if he wanted to penetrate Nikki. If I say it's fake, then it's fake. This is what we took from Norton Simon Museum. If you say it's fake, I don't have anything else. A murderous glint flashed in Tucker's eyes. You think I'm easy to fool? Don Tucker's face started to change, turning dark gray. A wound appeared between his brows. Just then, Nikki suddenly raised his gun and fired a shot at Don Tucker's forehead. The bullet hit Don Tucker between his eyebrows. Then, white lines started to appear on his forehead. Don Tucker's expression became pained. He was shocked. How is this possible? Nikki immediately took a few steps back. Is it strange that the fallen of the church sold their souls to the devil? Don Tucker's pained expression suddenly froze and became strange again. Since you know who I am, then you must be Knights of the Magic Palace, right? That's right. We are the Knights of the Magic Palace. Don Tucker used his finger to dig the hole between his brows. Soon a milky white bullet was dug out. I didn't expect the Eye of Holiness to be in your hands. You even made it into a bullet. Did you do this to lure me? Nikki and the rest raised their guns and pointed at Don Tucker. Everyone's expression became serious. How is this possible? Why didn't it work? The bullet had clearly pierced through his head. Why didn't it kill the fallen? Didn't they say that the Eye of Holiness was his nemesis? Why didn't it work? Don Tucker held the Eye of Holiness that had been made into a bullet. You don't know, right? I was the one who spread the news that I was restrained by the Eye of Holiness. Don Tucker's smile became even more strange. I've been waiting for the day when you personally deliver the Eye of Holiness to me. Now my wish has finally come true. Hee. Shoot, shoot. Nikki shouted. Everyone was pouring bullets at Don Tucker. A pair of demon wings suddenly extended from Don Tucker's back and blocked in front of him. All the bullets were blocked by the wing. Even the small caliber cannons were unharmed. Not only was Don Tucker unharmed, but his demon wings also grew bigger and bigger under the barrage of bullets. Soon they were as big as a wall. One had to know that their weapons and ammunition were all specially used to deal with evil creatures. They were either soaked in holy water or silver bullets. If an ordinary evil spirit was shot, it would be instantly destroyed. But not only was Don Tucker not injured, he became even stronger. He was absorbing the holy power contained in the attacks. Stop! Stop! Nikki shouted anxiously. She already knew that she was facing a terrifying monster. But in the Magic Palace's records, there was no record of Don Tucker's abilities. The only record was that Don Tucker was afraid of the Eye of Holiness. But they didn't expect that even this useful information was a trap in the end. Don Tucker only moved his demon wings away after the attack stopped. He held the Eye of Holiness tightly in his hand. Nikki, what is he doing? He seems to be absorbing the holy power. How is this possible? He's a demon. A pair of flawless white wings began to extend from Don Tucker's back. Everyone's expression changed again. How is this possible? How is this possible? The pair of wings was filled with a holy radiance. Don Tucker's face was filled with enjoyment. His body was quickly recovering its vitality. His old body was becoming younger. At the same time, he was becoming stronger. I did it. I did it. Don Tucker looked at his angel wings in surprise. At this time, The eye of holiness in his hand had been completely drained of its holy power. It turned into dust in his hand. Demon die. A knight suddenly charged at Doan Tucker. Doan Tucker raised his head to look at the knight. His white wings drew an arc in the air, stained with blood. The knight froze on the spot. His head slowly slid down. But the next moment, the knight's body suddenly exploded. Boom! The flames from the explosion engulfed Doan Tucker. Everyone looked at the center of the explosion. Doan Tucker's body was unharmed. Doan Tucker pointed. The flames from the explosion quickly shrank into a fireball and gathered in his palm. Then, Doan Tucker pointed at the armored car and fired a fireball. Boom! Chapter 12:25. Monster. That was the word that popped into everyone's mind. Doan Tucker ran his fingers through his blonde hair. He was in no hurry to kill the Magic Palace Knights. He was showing off his power. Just then, a whirring sound came from afar. 2 armed helicopters appeared above their heads. Da-da-da. The 2 attack helicopters launched an attack on Doan Tucker without any warning. Doan Tucker flapped his white wings. Countless beams of white light shot toward the 2 helicopters. One of the attack helicopters immediately crashed. The other one dodged the white light attack and continued to attack Doan Tucker. Doan Tucker raised his right arm. A red magic array appeared on the helicopter's wound. A bloody red hand burrowed out of the array. The helicopter's propeller shredded the hand, but the helicopter lost control and fell. Everyone's faces were filled with fear. Too powerful. This demon was too powerful. Even the most advanced weapons in modern warfare seemed so powerless in front of him. Submit to me. Doan Tucker looked at the crowd. I will grant you glory and wealth. Demon. In your dreams. Nikki refused Doan Tucker's request without hesitation. They came from the Magic Palace and had gone through countless trials. They had unwavering willpower. Perhaps they would be afraid, but fear would only make them more determined in their beliefs. Justice will prevail. Justice will prevail. Everyone was chanting their own slogan. Their eyes were filled with the determination to face death. Justice will prevail? Doan Tucker laughed. Then I will let you die in the name of justice. Doan Tucker raised a hand and opened his palm, pointing at the sky. All of you will receive the judgment of justice. Suddenly, a golden magic array appeared beneath everyone's feet. They discovered that they could not leave the array. They were all trapped within it. Above their heads, a dazzling golden inverted blade appeared. It was like the sword of Damocles pointing at their heads. I will ask you one last time. Will you submit or not? Doan Tucker shouted. But at that moment, Doan Tucker's voice suddenly paused. This was because he discovered that a golden magic array had appeared in the darkness a dozen meters away. Doan Tucker's judgment of justice covered a radius of 100 meters. In other words, as long as they were within 100 meters, everyone would have to face his judgment. A golden magic array had appeared in that shadowy place, which meant that there was another person hiding there. And this person was someone that he had never discovered. Chen Zhao was rather depressed. He didn't expect that he would be discovered like this. He was implicated for no reason at all. Originally, he planned to continue watching the show. Everyone had also noticed the golden magic array that had appeared not far away, and there was a figure inside it. Who else was here? Doan Tucker's accomplice? Or was it a third party? Moreover, it was just a dozen meters away from them in the haystack. It was so close, but they didn't notice it at all. Tan Tucker looked at him. Who are you? He didn't know. Not his accomplice. Nikki and the others thought to themselves. This man was wearing a suit and looked quite decent. He looked like a white-collar worker. Could it be someone who accidentally barged into this place? However, this was the wilderness. What was a white-collar worker doing here? Chen Zhao rubbed his nose, his expression somewhat awkward. If I said I was lost, would you believe me? Chen Zhao shrugged. Tan Tucker snorted. Do you think I'm an idiot? I'm really lost, Chen Zhao said helplessly. I don't know how I got here either. Chen Zhao's harmless expression was really confusing. You're asking for it. Tan Tucker wasn't so easily fooled. He pressed down with his palm. The golden blade above Chen Zhao's head fell down and hit his head directly. Chen Zhao fell to the ground. Just when Tan Tucker thought that he was dead, he stood up again. Chen Zhao patted the dust off his body. Do you know that my clothes cost $2,000? Tan Tucker narrowed his eyes at Chen Zhao. You're not dead. Nikki and the others were all shocked. This man was unharmed? How did he do it? Suddenly, Tan Tucker thought of something. You're the president of the supernatural organization? The man who hid 1/3 of Kong Mosa's soul? From your tone, you don't seem to respect Kong Mosa that much. To me, he's just a stepping stone, Tan Tucker said indifferently. I need his demonic power. He's useless now. I've obtained the power I need. The angelic and demonic powers have merged perfectly in my body. I don't need to pretend to serve him anymore. He's still sealed. Even if he's standing before me, I'll tell him the same thing. He can't enslave me anymore. Don Tucker looked at Chen Zhao. But I didn't expect you to appear before me on your own. I'm easy to talk to, Chen Zhao said with a smile. Since you don't need to be loyal to Kong Mosa, we're not enemies. There's no need for war between us, right? Haha. Tan Tucker laughed. I like you lowly, shameless human. Fine, I'll give you a chance to serve me. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. After being a dog for so long, you think you can be the master after getting a mouthful of food. It's not good to feel good about yourself. Nikki and the others were surprised by Chen Zhao's audacity. Even they had to be careful when facing Don Tucker. But this man was insulting Tan Tucker directly. Do you know what you're saying? As expected, Don Tucker's face turned cold and gloomy. Of course. This means we'll be enemies. Since we're enemies, why should I show respect to a dying dog? Tan Tucker pointed at Chen Zhao. A magic array appeared behind Chen Zhao. A bloody hand reached out from the array and grabbed Chen Zhao. Human, looks like I have to tell you that you must show respect to an enemy you can't defeat. Chapter 1226. Everyone thought that Chen Zhao was just bragging. He'd already been caught. But he was still boasting shamelessly. Wearing a cruel smile, Tan Tucker said, I admire your arrogance, but I hate your ignorance. So die. Tan Tucker clenched his fists. The bloody hand that was grabbing Chen Zhao also tightened. Ah! Chen Zhao screamed. Ow, ow, ow. I'm dying. I'm dying. Chen Zhao stuck out his tongue and tilted his neck. He was silent. Everyone suddenly had a funny feeling. It was rare to see someone die in such a funny way. Just when everyone thought that Chen Zhao was dead, Chen Zhao suddenly straightened his neck and opened his eyes. Chen Zhao suddenly straightened his neck and opened his eyes. I'm alive again. The only one who didn't enjoy Chen Zhao's performance was probably Tan Tucker. Tan Tucker could feel that Chen Zhao was playing with him. He grabbed at Chen Zhao at the same time. 4 magic formations appeared around Chen Zhao. 4 bloody hands reached out at the same time and grabbed Chen Zhao's limbs. The 4 bloody hands pulled in different directions, as if they wanted to dismember Chen Zhao. However, after pulling for a long time, they still couldn't dismember Chen Zhao. By the way, did you learn how to massage? Your technique is really good at loosening tendons and activating arteries. Chen Zhao's tone was teasing. This infuriated Tan Tucker quite a bit. Right now, Tan Tucker was like an erupting volcano. Die! A huge magic formation appeared above Chen Zhao's head. Large amounts of red, filthy water surged out of the formation. The filthy water came from the blood river in hell. There were also countless evil spirits in it. They completely covered Chen Zhao. Everyone's expressions changed. Being bitten and eaten by evil spirits was the most painful way to die. Suddenly, a beam of white light shone from the center. In an instant, all the evil spirits were wiped out, and all the filthy water evaporated in an instant. Chen Zhao stood there unscathed. No, he wasn't completely unscathed. His neat suit was now in a mess. He looked like a beggar's gang member. He didn't die. How did this guy do it? Nikki's face was filled with disbelief. This was a wizard. How could he be so strong? After all, Nikki was a witch. However, because she had awakened on the first night, her talent was very low. Later, she did not have much potential in magic, and eventually turned to become a knight. Because she had a certain magic foundation, she was like a fish in water after turning into a knight. Because of this, she knew that magic required talent, especially for wizards. Wizards were several times weaker than witches, and most wizards only knew 1 or 2 spells in their lifetime. However, the man in front of her was clearly an anomaly. You made me lose $2,000. Chen Zhao adjusted his collar. Chen Zhao looked at the chest of gold in the distance and walked toward it. He picked up a piece of gold and looked at it. Fuck demon gold. Chen Zhao kicked the box over angrily. Tan Tucker's face darkened. This guy was harder to deal with than he had imagined. His repeated attacks had actually left him completely unscathed. It seemed that he had to get serious. Chen Zhao walked toward Dian Tucker. Dian Tucker immediately retreated. He was a mage-type demon, so he didn't like people approaching him, especially when the other party was an enemy. Tan Tucker cast another spell. Gold Domain. Just then, dozens of golden chains appeared in the air and tied Chen Zhao up like a dumpling. But in the next instant, all the golden chains were broken. Tan Tucker retreated again and cast another spell. Holy Barrier. Chen Zhao swung his fist, and the holy barrier shattered like a mirror. By then, Chen Zhao had already approached Tan Tucker. Tan Tucker's demon and angel wings enveloped Chen Zhao at the same time. Chen Zhao opened his arms and grabbed the demon and angel wings. A cruel smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. Tan Tucker's expression suddenly turned ugly. He realized that he couldn't move his wings. He couldn't even pull them back. Tan Tucker pressed his palms against Chen Zhao's chest. Destructive blast. Boom. Amidst the huge explosion, Chen Zhao still held onto Tan Tucker's wings tightly. Are you tickling me? The edges of Tan Tucker's angel wings suddenly turned into sharp blades. But the next moment, Chen Zhao increased his strength and crushed Tan Tucker's angel wings. Ah! Tan Tucker finally let out a pained cry. Chen Zhao pulled hard, and the angel wings were forcibly pulled off Tan Tucker's back. Ah! Stop! Stop! I'm a lover of peace. Why don't you respect my choice? Chen Zhao put his hand on Tan Tucker's shoulder. I accept your suggestion. I choose to be in peace with you. Chen Zhao tightened his grip and Tan Tucker's shoulder was crushed. I refuse. You've already refused me once, so we're enemies now. Ah, stop. Chen Zhao pulled with his right arm, and the demon wings were also torn off. I hate being rejected. Chen Zhao's palm pierced through Tan Tucker's chest and pulled out a rib bone. Nikki and the others stared at Chen Zhao dumbfounded. This man was so scary. Was he torturing Tan Tucker now? Who was Don Tucker? He was an ancient demon from thousands of years ago. He was second only to Kan's Mosa. He was the commander of the demon army. But right now, he was being tortured by this man in such a cruel way. Let me go. I'm willing to submit to you. Monster. You monster. Don Tucker kept screaming in pain. It only took him a short time to go from begging to cursing. Right now Tan Tucker was covered in blood. His wings had already been torn off and tossed aside. A few rib bones that had been pulled out from his body were on the ground. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Chen Zhao was using an even crueler method to treat him. Skin him. That's right. After skinning Bostel, another commander of the demon army, was going to be tortured like this. Everyone was shocked by Chen Zhao's cruelty. The bloody body was tossed on the ground. Tan Tucker wasn't dead yet. At the very least, from his screams, it was clear that he was still very energetic. However, when his body came into contact with the sand, the pain it brought stimulated his pain nerves. Chen Zhao held Tan Tucker's freshly skinned skin in his hand. I curse you. I curse you. Tan Tucker's curse took effect, but it disappeared in an instant. Chapter 1227. On the ground, Don Tucker started convulsing. His body arched in pain. Suddenly, Don Tucker's body surged with terrifying power. It was formed by mixing demonic power and holy power. The power gathered into a human shape before Chen Zhao. This human-shaped energy body was very unstable. Its limbs were spread out, and the surrounding spiritual energy of the world was attracted by this energy body. As the spiritual chi of heaven and earth continued to fill the energy body, the human-shaped energy body became even more irritable. It seemed like it would explode at any moment. Run! Nikki yelled. The other knights turned and ran with Nikki. Facing the energy, Chen Zhao fell into deep thought. The complicated energy gave Chen Zhao another idea. Holy power and demonic power, mixed together, could produce such powerful energy. Then, what if he extracted the holy power from the angelic crystal, mixed it with his own demonic power, and then shot it out with the mouth of gluttony? Nikki and the others ran a few hundred meters away. Then a terrifying shockwave came from behind. At the same time, a huge shockwave swept Nikki and the others away. Benris, are you okay? I'm fine. How about you? My arm's too short, Nikki said in pain. When she'd been sent flying by the shockwave, she'd hit a rock. But this kind of injury was acceptable. Looking back, the explosion had already stopped. The explosion had come and gone quickly. That guy's not dead, right? He was so close and didn't try to run at all. I'm afraid. He could have run away, Nikki said. That guy was too arrogant. They'd had more than 10 seconds to react. Nikki and the others could run more than 100 meters away. There was no reason the guy couldn't. Should we go take a look? Let's go. When they arrived at the center of the explosion, there was a 10-meter-wide crater. One could imagine how terrifying the shockwave had been. It was impossible for humans to survive the impact of such an explosion. There were no signs of life here, which proved their speculation. The guy was dead. He'd died because of his arrogance. However, the person they thought was dead had already left the scene. Chen Zhao went to the headquarters at night and pulled Jalik and Padalu out of their sleep. The two of them complained incessantly, but there was nothing they could do. The smell of blood still lingered on Chen Zhao's body. They didn't even dare to let out a fart. He could only follow Chen Zhao's request. For the entire night, Chen Zhao either stayed in the workshop with them or helped them with their work. It was not until early in the morning that the three of them came out of the workshop. Let's go and have some breakfast. The headquarters cafeteria started serving breakfast very early, and the ones in charge of breakfast were all evil spirits. They were very active at night, and they didn't stay in bed like humans. However, West, who came for breakfast, was surprised to see Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao was having breakfast at HQ? Did that mean that Chen Zhao came last night and didn't go home? That was quite rare. Usually, Chen Zhao would go home to rest no matter how late he was. Morning, President. Wes greeted him with a bowl of soy milk. Because of Chen Zhao's eating habits, even the evil spirits in charge of food had to follow his requests. They even knew how to cook some of the China's specialties. Morning. Guild leader, were you at the headquarters the entire night? Yes, I'm busy with some things. Guild leader, are you worried about the invasion of the demon army that Rupert mentioned? Yes, but there's nothing to worry about, Chen Zhao said calmly. I've already thought of a solution. Guild leader, are you confident? At the beginning, we didn't have a 50% chance, Chen Zhao said. But after last night, we have at least a 90% chance. Wes couldn't help but be delighted. He'd been troubled by this for the past few days. But hearing Chen Zhao's words, he was finally relieved. To be honest, Chen Zhao might not be afraid if they really had to fight to the death. When Chen Zhao was dealing with the mother, he'd obtained a large number of old artillery shells from the underground base. Those weapons were all from the 60s and 70s. If Chen Zhao really took them out, it would definitely be enough to destroy the demon army. But if they exploded at the same time, both the headquarters and the people would be affected. But now, Chen Zhao had thought of a safer method. A method that hurt the enemy without harming himself. West trusted Chen Zhao. Since Chen Zhao said he had a solution, the danger was most likely over. After dealing with the matters at the headquarters, Chen Zhao went home. He entered the river map as soon as he got home. His goal was to test his new idea, of course. He would mix the holy power of angelic crystals with demonic power, and release it with the mouth of gluttony. Chen Zhao even gave it a very old-fashioned name, Demon Cannon. Hearing that Chen Zhao had a new move, Old Turtle was also interested. After all, Chen Zhao had just created spells Return to One. If it was a normal spell, Chen Zhao probably wouldn't be interested. Since it could make him go to the river diagram to try out new spells, it shouldn't be much weaker than 10,000 techniques Return to One. Chen Zhao first stuffed a perfect angelic crystal into the mouth of gluttony and chewed it. Most of the time, hybrid demons were weaker than pure-blooded demons. But they weren't absolutely weak. Angelic crystals could suppress pure-blooded demons, but they wouldn't hurt hybrid demons. This was also a characteristic of hybrid demons. They had human blood in their bodies. It was this human blood that prevented hybrid demons from being harmed by holy power. Theoretically, Chen Zhao and Gaia were both hybrid demons. But Gaia was a natural hybrid demon, while Chen Zhao was a half-baked demon. So angelic crystals wouldn't harm Chen Zhao. But when Chen Zhao mixed the demonic power and holy power together, the terrifying power started spreading. It was also extremely unstable. Chen Zhao forcefully suppressed it, but in less than 3 seconds, he felt that something was wrong. The mouth of gluttony opened, and a terrifying power burst out. A ditch appeared in the area 30 to 40 meters in front of him. No, it looked powerful, but the energy was too scattered. This kind of impact wouldn't be effective in a battle of the same level. He had to adjust the angle of the eruption and the size of the mouth of gluttony. Also, the energy was released too quickly. It wasn't compressed at all. This was also an important reason for the spread. The more the energy was compressed, the stronger the explosion. Chapter 12:28. Chen Zhao kept trying. Old Turtle also gave him pointers from the side. After trying more than 10 times, Chen Zhao used up a lot of mana. After all, the demon god cannon required a lot of mana each time it was fired. But practice made perfect. He only needed to try it many times to form muscle memory. Chen Zhao finally grasped the correct way to open the demon god cannon. This was Chen Zhao's next killer move, after 10,000 techniques returned to 1. For Chen Zhao, angelic crystals were obtained much faster than the consumption. Angelic crystals were obtained by killing evil spirits, or demons in the human world. The more powerful the demon or evil spirit, the purer the angelic crystal. Last year, Chen Zhao had obtained as many angelic crystals as the number of battles he experienced. In the upcoming battle, Chen Zhao would obtain even more angelic crystals. Don Tucker is dead. Bustil is also dead. Sibylla's expression was serious. The image of that Chinese man popped up in her mind. Apart from that man, she couldn't think of anyone else with this ability. Even though there were no clues that Don Tucker and Bustil's deaths were related to Chen Zhao, Sibylla still firmly believed that the two commanders' deaths were directly related to Chen Zhao. Even so, Sibylla still firmly believed that the two commanders' deaths were directly related to Chen Zhao. That bitch Arrow isn't willing to help. There's only Eden now. Eden probably can't completely lead the demon army. Looks like I have to change the plan. Sibylla's eyes flickered. Just then Maheji and Feisha walked in. There was a metal box floating beside Maheji. Teacher, it's your goods again. Yes, open the box, Sibylla said. Maheji and Feisha both knew that it was definitely a cyborg like X9. With a wave of her hand, the metal box's lid was opened. Just like X9, this cyborg also had a big X tattoo on its chest. Sibylla walked to the metal box and started casting a spell to wake the cyborg. Soon the cyborg woke up. When it opened its eyes, it was very calm. It didn't attack them like when X9 woke up. What's your name? I'm X71. You know X9, right? He's a low-end product of the company. My performance is far better than his. X71 answered. How much better? X9 is only at the 5th stage of Agent X awakening. I'm at the 7th stage. In terms of comprehensive performance, I'm 12 times better than him. Feisha, why don't you test his combat strength? X71 looked at Sibylla. How far do I need to go? You or she will lose the ability to move. Suddenly X71 launched an attack on Faith. Feisha was stunned. Wait, it hasn't started yet. Before Feisha could react, X71 was already in front of her, its palm slashing toward Feisha's shoulder. Ah! Feisha's collarbone was immediately shattered. Feisha screamed and fell to the ground. Alright, stop it, X71. Sibylla frowned and said, Feisha, you're too useless. Mahage, come and practice with X71. Mahage raised her finger, and the metal box suddenly flew toward X71. X71 was sent flying, but he quickly opened the metal box and stood up again. X71 was about to attack again, but Mahage hooked her finger, and the metal box behind X71 flew up again and slammed into X71's back. The metal box twisted and bound X71, but X71 struggled to free himself from the iron sheet binding him. It wouldn't be long before he broke the iron sheet. But at this moment, Sibylla suddenly appeared behind Mahage and reached out to press the back of Mahage's head. Mahage's expression was calm as usual, and she slashed a piece of metal at Sibylla. Sibylla's heart skipped a beat, and immediately retreated to avoid the attack. Mahage, you're actually guarding against me? Mahage's expression was cold from beginning to end. I can't help it. You're my teacher, so I have to be careful. X-71 catch her. X-71 struggled to break free from the metal sheet and rushed toward Mahage. Suddenly, the house they were building was smashed open, and a car flew in. It crashed into X-71. This was the car they often used, and it was parked in front of their house. Mahage had always been calm in battle. When did you start guarding against me? Mahage smiled coldly, and the house began to fall apart. Steel beams shot toward Sibylla from all directions, and Mahage took the opportunity to escape. Sibylla was her teacher after all. With Mahage's strength, she couldn't fight her head-on. Moreover, there was still X-71, so Sibylla had no chance of winning. Sibylla didn't pursue, because she had to protect Faisha. Sibylla helped Faisha up. Are you okay? Although Faisha didn't understand why Sibylla suddenly attacked Mahage, she was very happy. Teacher, you should have killed Mahage a long time ago. Yes. Sibylla nodded. I should have done it a long time ago instead of waiting until now. Sibylla suddenly poked Faisha's forehead with her finger. In an instant, Faisha couldn't move, and her body fell straight to the ground. Teacher, what are you doing? Let me go. Don't worry, you'll be free soon. Sibylla had a faint smile on her face. Teacher, please don't joke with me, I'm your student. Faisha suddenly felt fear. She didn't know what Sibylla was going to do, but she had a bad feeling about it. X-71, come here and lie down next to Faisha. X-71 lay down next to Faisha without any objections. Sibylla began to cast her magic. She began to undo the seal on Faisha's body. Faisha's body began to tremble violently, and black gas seeped out of her mouth, nose, and ears. The black gas converged into a ferocious face in the air. Sibylla guided the black gas into X-71's body. Master, please stay in this body for the time being. The demon army needs your supreme authority to command. Faisha's life was also drained away as the seal was undone. This wasn't what she had planned. This was completely different from what Sibylla had told her. But there was nothing she could do. X-71 opened her eyes again and looked at Sibylla. Sibylla knelt in front of X-71. Master. X-71 looked at her body and was also familiarizing herself with it. Why do I need to undo the seal now? My soul isn't complete yet, and where's my own body? Master, Don Tucker is dead. Bustel is also dead, and Arrow has betrayed you. Only Eden is left, but Eden alone isn't enough to completely control the demon army and take your soul. So you need to personally lead the demon army. At this time, X-71 was no longer the original cyborg. He was Kansmasa. Chapter 1229. Today, LA was covered in dark clouds. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. Chen Zhao looked at the sky. He didn't look too good either. It was obvious that something big was about to happen. Just then Chen Zhao's phone rang. Hey Chen, something's wrong. Kong Mosa has revived, Rupert said in a panic. What? How is that possible? He just killed Don Tucker last night. Chen Zhao had thought that he would have the upper hand in the battle. But in less than 12 hours, Rupert brought him terrible news. But Rupert had only stayed in the headquarters for a short time. How could Kong Mosa revive? Kong Mosa didn't completely revive, Rupert said. Only 1/3 of his soul. Also, he didn't revive himself. He's relying on someone else's body. Oh, just 1/3 of his soul. What's there to worry about? Chen, the point is, if Kong Mosa is resurrected, the demon army will gather. Thomas Bailey, who's locked in the dungeon now, is about to lose control. The evil voice is echoing in his head again, Chen Zhao said. Thomas Bailey had come to the headquarters to hide, but Chen Zhao didn't trust him completely, so he'd locked him in the dungeon. Had the difficulty increased again? It seemed that the battle would start before the 15th. Chen Zhao looked at the dark sky. This phenomenon had happened twice. First, when ES God came and reigned for many days. The other time was the projection of Abaddon, the demon king of plague and death. These powerful demons and mutants always seemed to be able to cause such phenomena. While Chen Zhao was talking to Rupert, a figure appeared at his door. Mahage. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Mahage. Although they were enemies, Chen Zhao believed that she wasn't here to die. Chen Zhao walked to the door and looked at Mahage. Did your teacher send you to declare war on me? No, Mahage said. I escaped from Sibylla. Do you think I'll believe you? Chen Zhao asked calmly. Mahage stared at Chen Zhao. This was her third time seeing him. The first time, she'd thought he was an ordinary person. But the second time, she was shocked by how terrifying he was. Chen Zhao had killed the demon spirit right in front of everyone. Also from their second encounter, she could tell that Chen Zhao's temper wasn't very good. Therefore, she wasn't confident about appearing before him on her own. I'm here to inform you that Kang Mosa and his demon army will invade tomorrow. Again, why should I believe you? Kang Mosa is currently residing in a human's body. It is impossible for him to live in a human's body for long, and his body is not complete, so he can only reside in a human's body for 3 days at most. First, he needs to familiarize himself with the body and recover his strength. Tomorrow, he should be able to temporarily recover to his peak state, and then he will begin to weaken, so he will definitely choose to attack when he is at his strongest, and after tomorrow, his strength will begin to weaken, Mahage said. Chen Zhao stared at Mahage. He was still skeptical of her words. It was still the same question. How could Chen Zhao believe it? Do you think Kang Mosa can recover to his peak with a third of his soul, and not even his own body? That's right. Mahage nodded. How did he do it? Because of his demon army, Mahage said. Demon army? Demon army? Mahage pointed at the rolling clouds in the sky. There is a certain connection between the demon armies, and when they gather in one place, they will influence each other and release powerful demon power. If it's only the demon power of 1 or 2 demons, it won't cause much of an effect, but the demon power of close to 1,000 demons is something he can't contend against. The reason why Kang Mosa created the demon army was because he wanted to use the demon army to transform into the great demon king. You didn't come to tell me, right? I want to take Kang Mosa's soul in my body for myself, Mahage said. Chen Zhao looked at Mahage meaningfully. This woman had the same goal as Rupert. I heard that your teacher has a way to separate the host's soul from Kang Mosa's. That's just a lie to Rupert, Mahage said. Mahage said, from the moment Kang Mosa was sealed in our bodies, it was impossible for us to separate. My teacher's original goal wasn't to seal him, but rather because Kang Mosa's soul had been sealed for 1,000 years and was already very weak. Even without the attacks of the other witches, he wouldn't be able to survive for long, so she sealed Kang Mosa's soul in our bodies. In fact, it was fused with our souls. It is said that this spell is an Eastern supplement, using us to repair Kang Mosa's soul. If it was at the beginning of the seal, and our souls hadn't completely fused, then we could still be separated. But now killing Kang Mosa's soul is killing us. So, either Kang Mosa assimilated you, or you assimilated Kang Mosa? That's right. Kang Mosa isn't a good person, but his knowledge isn't completely useless. There's also his demonic power. For me, this is an opportunity. Mahage paused. Mahage paused for a moment before continuing. Up until now, we and Kang Mosa have been unable to completely assimilate each other. This is because our bodies are ours and we have our own wills. Kang Mosa's soul is too powerful, even if it's only a third of his soul. The only weak one is Rupert. Originally, Sibylla hoped that Rupert would be the first to be completely assimilated by Kang Mosa, and then the two of us. However, Rupert was frozen by her teacher for 20 years, and even Kang Mosa's soul in her body fell into a deep slumber for 20 years. This caused Sibylla's plan to be delayed for 20 years. Then how are you going to assimilate Kang Mosa? You haven't been able to completely assimilate him in 20 years. Can you do it now or in the future? As long as you kill the part of Kang Mosa that has been resurrected, once his soul is incomplete, the other 2 parts will also weaken. Then Rupert and I will have a chance. What's in it for me? I know where Kang Mosa's body is hidden by the demon army. I can use the hiding place of Kang Mosa's body in exchange. What do you think I'll use the body of a demon for? Chapter 1230. She left. Chen Zhao didn't stop her. She didn't provide much information, but she didn't provide much either. Chen Zhao looked at the sky. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind. Chen, isn't that woman a guest? No. Is she an enemy? I'm not sure. Is something going to happen? Fei Lai asked. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai didn't hide anything, so he told her about Rupert. Is that girl already in her 20s? Fei Lai's focus seemed a bit strange. I'll go to the headquarters with Zhilin, so you don't have to worry about both sides. Chen Zhao was stunned. He hadn't thought about this before. Subconsciously, he thought that a war was about to start. No matter the outcome, the headquarters wouldn't be safe. But Fei Lai's words were indeed a solution. At least, he would be more at ease if Fei Lai and Zhilin were under his watch. Okay. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and agreed to Fei Lai's suggestion. The pets at home were also not to be underestimated. Of course, if Fei Lai and Zhilin were at the headquarters, he had to be more careful and treat the upcoming war more seriously. The underlings started helping Fei Lai and Zhilin pack their luggage. Chen Zhao also brought some underlings to the headquarters. After arriving at the headquarters, Chen Zhao brought Zhilin to meet Evans. Evans, come and meet your sister, little Zhilin. Hi, brother Evans. Little Zhilin had a cheerful personality. Comparatively speaking, Evans, who was slightly older, was much more shy. Hi. Little Zhilin took the initiative to run to Evans and held his hand. Brother Evans, let's go play. Okay. Chen Zhao also hoped that Zhilin's cheerfulness could help Evans walk out of the darkness. After all, he and Gaia were both adults. They had their own worldviews, so they might not be able to help Evans. Little Zhilin might be a good breakthrough. Chen Zhao went to check on the preparations of every member. Just then, Chen Zhao's other phone rang. It was the handsome boy. Chen Zhao picked up and the boy asked, Chen Zhao, when are you coming to hell? I'm going to face a great enemy in the next 2 days. After dealing with this enemy, I'll go to hell. Oh, then you'd better hurry up. The Mana Tide is coming soon. If you miss it, the next Mana Tide will be 13 years later. What is the Mana Tide? This is a natural climate in hell. Every 13 years, there will be a magic wave that covers most of hell. During the magic wave, the elements here will be dozens of times denser than usual. Every 13 years, a large number of demons will have a significant increase in strength. This is also an opportunity for you. By the way, let me ask you something. My cultivation system is Taoism. Right now, I'm in the emptiness of heaven and earth. In our Taoism realm, we'll form a small world. Do you understand? Of course, a small portion of intermediate demons have a similar realm, but we call it the demon domain. The handsome boy said, but not all demons can enter, because the bloodline of many demons determines their height. They might never reach the demon domain, so some demons will use special methods to enter the demon domain. The enemy I'm facing right now first created many demons, and then he can form a connection with them. This is the most common way to enter the demon domain. In terms of levels, the two of you should be in the same realm. However, the other party relied on external forces to reach this realm, while you relied on your own strength to enter. So there is still a fundamental difference between the two of you. You should be able to kill the other party easily. The key problem is his demon army. Do you remember the destructive power you absorbed through that spell last time? You can release the destructive power, and the demon army can be easily killed by you, including your enemy. But I still have my family, friends, and subordinates by my side. Then there's another way. I've thought of one, the handsome boy said. The handsome young man said, receive the magic I'm giving you. This magic is a passive magic. It doesn't do any damage, but it can erode this unstable demonic domain. By the way, you have the bloodline of gluttony, right? Yes. Okay, I've already created a spell for you. Chen Zhao was speechless. He'd been cultivating for so long, and had to think hard to think of a suitable spell for him. But the handsome boy only paused for a moment, and had already thought of a suitable spell for him. When Chen Zhao opened the file the handsome boy had given him, golden, red, and black lines shot out of the screen and entered Chen Zhao's forehead. Instantly, a lot of information appeared in Chen Zhao's mind. Oh, the Tower of Trials I made for you is also a weapon. At least, it's harder than most weapons in the human world. Chen Zhao's heart jumped. This meant that he could use the Tower of Trials as a weapon if he shrunk it to a certain size. After communicating with the handsome boy, Chen Zhao was even more confident. After hanging up, Chen Zhao continued inspecting the headquarters and the surrounding Fangyu. Just then Pan In and Eric dragged a demon out of the forest. The demon was more than 3 meters tall and strong. It had a green face and sharp fangs. It kept struggling in Pan In and Eric's hands. "President, look what we caught." Chen Zhao was surprised. "Where did you catch it?" "In the forest." "Lowly humans, my master has already descended. You're not far from death." The demon roared. Chen Zhao had an idea. He could use it to try the spell the handsome boy had taught him. Chen Zhao tapped the demon's forehead with his finger. In an instant, the demon's soul was extracted. Then, the evil spirit's soul started disintegrating in Chen Zhao's small world. "President, why don't you keep it for interrogation?" Pan In and Eric didn't expect Chen Zhao to kill the demon directly. Chen Zhao also didn't expect the spell to kill the demon so easily. But the demon was really weak. Chen Zhao's small world absorbed the demon, but didn't feel anything at all. "Increase the vigilance. The demon army is coming, either today or tomorrow. Then we'll go patrol again," Pan In said. "Be careful. If you can't beat them, run to the headquarters." Actually, the headquarters' defenses were already very tight. Apart from Pan In and Eric, there were all kinds of equipment in the surrounding forest. Chapter 1231. A car was driving on the road in the woods under the night sky. There were several university students in the car. "Jill, where are we going?" The only woman in the car asked the student who was driving. "A few days ago, someone found a big footprint here and posted the picture on the internet. I think there might be a Bigfoot monster here." They were all students from California Institute of Technology, and they were also members of the Paranormal Society. To put it bluntly, it was a concentration camp for a group of Chinibu patients. They always fantasized about the third type of contact and the fourth type of contact. The third type of contact was known as extraterrestrial civilization, and the fourth type of contact was supernatural events. Apart from completing his studies, he would be running around everywhere. Wherever there was a strange event, he would participate in it. Could it be another prank? I analyzed the footprint with LA calculation. The pattern is clear and doesn't seem to be man-made. LA calculation was mostly used by the police to investigate cases. Through LA calculation, they could calculate the height, weight, and even physical condition of some footprints. Everyone knew that Jill was a computer expert. His most impressive record was that he once hacked into the president's office to find information about Area 51. But he failed. Of course, although he failed, he escaped unscathed. Although Jill wasn't the best hacker, this was enough to make him proud. "It's so dark tonight. There's no moonlight at all. There aren't even street lights on this road." Jill stopped the car and picked up the map. "That's strange. Logically speaking, this should be the end of the road. Ahead should be the woods. Why is there still a road?" "Let's go forward and see," Prague said. "What do you think?" "Let's go forward. We've already gone so far. We can't turn back now." Everyone had the same opinion. They all continued forward. But after the car stopped, it was difficult to start it again. Jill's car was secondhand. It was already very old when he bought it. He bought it for only $1,000. Usually, members of the Paranormal Society relied on this car to travel around. They often had problems, but they didn't expect that there would be a problem here. The car couldn't start. "Let me go and take a look." Jill got out and opened the front cover to check. But after 20 minutes, he still found nothing. "Hey, you guys, can you come down and help? I can't do it alone." The 4 people in the car also got off. "Prague, do you want a cigarette?" Prague shook his head. "That's why I rejected your pursuit. I hate men who smoke." "All right." Sorman shrugged helplessly. Neither of them knew how to repair cars. So they stood by the side of the road and looked at the dark forest. Suddenly, Prague took 2 steps forward. "What's that?" Sorman scrutinized the dark forest. "It looks like a wild beast. Maybe it's the Bigfoot monster we're looking for." Prague laughed. "The car is fixed. We can continue our journey. Jill said. Everyone returned to the car, and the car continued to move. But after a few steps, the car suddenly jerked. A black shadow slammed heavily into the car. The car immediately veered off the road and crashed into a tree by the roadside. What's going on? How are you guys? I'm fine. What happened just now? We were hit by something. Fortunately, they were driving very slowly. After all, it was an old car and had just started, so it couldn't go fast. But just then, there was a sudden thud on the roof, as if something had landed on it. The roof was dented, and a few sharp claws pierced through the dent. The claws were slowly tearing open the roof. Everyone in the car was shocked. Soon, the roof was cut open by the thing above, and the roof was completely lifted. Everyone finally saw what it was. It was a 3-meter-tall monster. The monster's head looked like a Shar-Pei, and its mouth emitted a foul stench. Its eyes were red, and there was a tail behind it. What scared them even more was that there was a human face on the monster's tail. The monster's tail reached into the car. The face on the tail looked at the martial artists and revealed a strange smile. The 5 people in the car were so scared that they almost peed their pants. 5 humans, not bad. The face on the monster's tail made a horrifying sound. Suddenly, Jill took out a gun from somewhere and fired at the face on the monster's tail. Bang! The face was smashed, but it quickly recovered. But the monster was furious. It grabbed Jill, dragged her out of the car, and bit her neck. Blood splattered on the people in the car. Everyone was scared out of their wits and immediately ran out of the car. But they only ran a few steps when they saw a few more monsters appear in 2 directions. Each of these monsters had a different form, but each one of them was terrifying. This was the 4th type of contact that they had been dreaming of. Supernatural creatures. They were right in front of them. But at this moment, they didn't feel any joy or excitement. There was only fear, because they weren't as good as they had imagined. They ate people. Just then, a rustling sound came from the darkness. The monsters also heard this sound and looked in the direction of the sound. The monster on the roof dropped Jill's body and looked warily into the darkness. Suddenly, a 10-meter-long purple python rushed out of the darkness and bit the monster on the roof. The other monsters wanted to escape, but a green lion rushed out from another direction and slapped one of the monsters to the ground. It was Payne and Eric. They were in charge of night patrols around the headquarters. Then they received an order from West, saying that a few children were attacked by demons lurking nearby. The purple python was transformed from Pan N, while Eric transformed into a green lion. The 4 people who didn't know what was going on were so scared that they curled up on the ground. They watched the 2 terrifying beasts fight the monsters. However, it was obvious that both the purple python and the green lion were stronger than these monsters. But they weren't normal creatures either. At least, there were no wild African lions in the American continent, and they were green. Payne swung his tail, and a demon was sent flying. In just 2 or 3 moves, these monsters were almost wiped out. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, another demon turned to escape. Chapter 1232. Everyone looked and realized that it was a tall woman. Gaia had just gotten off work and was on her way to the headquarters when she saw the battle. She saw Payne and Eric fighting, so she came over to help. Prague and the others all looked at Gaia in shock. The woman was tall, but compared to the monster, she was half the size. However, she was strangling the monster's neck. No matter how much the monster struggled, it was useless. Just then, Payne and Eric's battle had ended. They each killed a demon and captured one alive. When Payne and Eric turned into humans, Prague and the others were all dumbfounded. Their faces were full of shock. They were humans. What was going on? Was it magic? Who are those people? Gaia pointed at Prague and the others. I don't know. Bring them back for interrogation, Gaia said. After all, it was before the war. Who knew if they had other intentions? These kids didn't look like it. But who knew if they were just trying to hurt themselves? Prague and the others were brought to the headquarters. When they entered, they saw 2 kids riding on giant black and white wolves. They were playing on the lawn in front. Auntie Gaia. Jerlin was the first to see Gaia. She immediately asked Black Ma to rush over. Evans also ran up. When Gaia saw the two little guys, she immediately smiled. Jerlin, why are you here? Dad said that Brother Evans has no one to play with, so he asked me to play with him. Gaia's face showed a rare gentleness. She saw that Evans's face also showed a long-lost cheerfulness, which made Gaia even happier. Prague and the others looked at the building before them carefully, feeling uncertain. Why are you standing? Go in. Payne pushed a boy. The 4 students were brought into the front hall. Mr. West, when we arrived, one was dead. We only brought back 4 and caught 3 demons. West looked at Prague and the others. Tell us your names and identities. Sir, we're students from Caltech. I'm Prague. I'm Philip. Zoe's. Griffin. Why are you here? West looked at the 4 young people. I don't want to hurt you, West said. But if our president doesn't get a satisfactory answer, he will intervene. You definitely don't want to see our president. We're really students from Caltech. We're from the Paranormal Society. We're here to find Bigfoot. What proof do you have? Everyone looked at each other. What proof could they have? They had never thought that such a thing would happen. No, they hadn't even considered the possibility that they would encounter the 4th type of contact. We've already told you our identities. What else do you want to know? Although the 4 young people were very anxious, and their emotions were a little out of control, but West was still unhurried. He asked the same questions over and over again. At this time, it was already late. It was quiet outside the headquarters. Let's stop here. West stood up and said, I'll take you to your accommodations. When can we leave? Not tonight, not tomorrow. Before I confirm your identities, none of you can leave this place. We are just students. But you intruded into our territory. We intruded by accident. We didn't know. Everyone has to be responsible for their own actions. You're all adults. The 4 of them spent the night anxiously. The next morning they came out of their rooms. No one cared about them. They didn't know that they had actually been accompanied by 4 evil spirits last night. The environment here was very beautiful. There was a huge lake and a sea of trees beside it. If it weren't for the special situation they were in, they would probably be relaxing right now and having a good rest here. Just then they saw Wes walking over. Did you miss breakfast? No. Where did you eat? The cafeteria. Wes brought them to the cafeteria. When they saw the evil spirits floating in the cafeteria, the 4 of them almost peed their pants. You saw the demon last night. Are you still afraid of evil spirits? Wes glanced at the 4 of them. Sir, when can we leave? If everything goes well tomorrow. What if it doesn't? Prague looked at West anxiously. Forever. Do you see those bastards? They're the ones who will be locked here forever. Prague's expression stiffened. What did they do wrong? Nothing, West said. They just offended our president. This was the 2nd time Prague and the others had heard West mention their president. Cough, cough. West heard coughing behind him. He turned around and saw Chun Zhao and Fei Lai enter the cafeteria. President. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao, sizing him up. They wanted to see what was up with this scary president that West had mentioned. Young man, don't listen to this old *Shoals nonsense. He's been ruining my reputation everywhere. I've always insisted on using love to manage the association, Chun Zhao said seriously. They all deserve to die, but the law can't punish them. That's why I locked them here to prevent them from causing trouble when they get out. If you don't believe me, ask them. Henry, come here. Tell me, am I right? Henry had his head buried in his breakfast. Hearing Chun Zhao's words, he forced a smile. Yes, we're all *holes. The president gave us a new life, and a chance to turn over a new leaf. If Henry's answer was the opposite of Chun Zhao's, he would probably have a close encounter with a meat grinder tonight. Oh, I heard that you're students from Caltech, right? Yes. I'm a professor at UCLA. You can call me Chen. University professor? No one expected Chun Zhao to be a university professor. You can visit my school when you have time. UCLA's academic ranking is much lower than Caltech, Griffin said. There's nothing to visit. Everyone's expression froze. Griffin was a firm supporter of his school. He'd always been hostile and belittling other schools. West, I suspect that he's a spy sent by the demon army. I think we need to torture and interrogate him. I hope to get the detailed plan of the demon army from him before sunset. No one expected Chen Zhao, who had been so approachable a moment ago, to become a completely different person in the next moment. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.